Lu Shenshi, an 18-year-old otaku preparing to start college, lives not wholly alone in his flat, as his collection of waifu figures serves as his wives. Lu's life may seem humbling at first, but it is about to take a very exciting turn. Lu receives a new smartphone, which he promptly configures with joy and delight. Lu opted to take a little nap instead of waiting for his new smartphone to set up, only to be interrupted by an unfamiliar female voice. The strange voice asks if Lu yearns for superpowers. Like any other normal being, Lu considers this childish until an apparition of a goddess appears before him. But the alarm on Lu's old phone awakens him out of nowhere. Lu reached for his phone to silence the alarm, only to grab something else, a smooth and succulent kind. Lu opens his eyes, only to be met by yet another stranger in front of him. He instantly questioned the strange girl, only to be confused when she addressed him as master. Mistaken for a girl with peculiar kinks, Lu opted to call the cops instead, only to discover that his old phone had gone missing. Lu returns his focus to the girl, accusing her of barging into his house and stealing his phone. But the girl's response is truly magnanimously shocking, as she unexpectedly kisses Lu on the lips, utterly catching him off guard. Stunned, Lu pushes the girl back, only to have both of his hands land on the girl's chest. But things get strange when the girl starts to talk and sounds exactly like Lu's mother. Lu couldn't believe that the girl talks outrageously uncanny, like his mother calling him through the phone. Lu recalls his strange dream with the goddess discussing superpowers, and he quickly concludes that his newfound ability is to turn anything he touches into a living girl. But boy, he's wrong, because one of his favorite waifu figurines did not transform into a real person after he touched it. Lu now asks what's inside one of his files to see whether the girl is truly a transformation of his old smartphone. Our guy, Lu, is now chastised for being a man of culture and for hiding revealing image files of ladies in a folder called homework. Fortunately, Lu dodged the bullet while also confirming that his phone was now the living girl speaking to him. Lu asks for her name, but she says she doesn't have one. She also stated that Lu, as her master, should be the one to name her. Lu chose the name Yozora, which translates to night sky in English. The girl is overjoyed with her new name and instantly hugs Lu. While Lu is cherishing the moment, his mother's unexpected and sudden arrival makes him frantic. He swiftly advises Yozora to go hide because Lu has yet to come up with a solid excuse for his mother. He shoved Yozora into the closet and rushed to open the door, only for his mother to open it first. Lu's expression screams nervousness, and his mother is quick to see. Based on Lu's unusual behavior, she quickly realized that her son was obviously hiding something. Lu makes every explanation he can think of, but none of them will save him from what he just noticed. Yozora had left her shoes in front of the closet. Desperately, Lu attempts to grab the evidence before his mother notices it. But Lu's behavior raises even more red flags, and his mother now confirms that Lu is hiding something. Lu's mother surprisingly tosses one of her son's cherished waifu figurines into the air. Lu lunges to save his otaku treasure. He saved the figurine just in time, as did his mother, who also grabbed a pair of girls' shoes. Relentless, his mom now opens the cabinet only to find a cute girl staring innocently back at her. Lu's mother initially thought Lu had taken the girl home against her will due to the desperation of being single. But Yozora steps up and says that her master Lu did not force her or anything. The statement that should have consoled Lu's mother instead raises more questions since the word master for Lu enters the picture. Left with no choice, Lu kneels in front of his mother and confesses that Yozora is his girlfriend. He also explains that he was forced to hide Yozora in the closet because he was afraid she, as his mother, would overthink. Finally, Lu's mother believes him and sends her best regards. But before departing, his mother gives Lu a strange gift, something that implies Lu's mother is also a person of culture. Irritated, Lu throws the bizarre gift he received from his mother on the floor. But Yozora is intrigued enough to pick it up and munch it, packaging included. Lu quickly took it from Yozora and informed her it wasn't for eating. Yozora becomes increasingly curious about the strange object and inquires as to its purpose. Lu tries to come up with an excuse, but his hunger wins the moment. Our poor guy recalls that he didn't have anything for dinner the night before. Surprisingly, Yozora's tummy grumbles with hunger too. Worried that human food may harm Yozora if he carelessly introduces some to her, Lu decided to inspect Yozora's mouth. After an awkward moment, Lu inspects Yozora's mouth and finds nothing unusual. That means Yozora might be okay with human food. Lu gets a bunch of snacks and tells Yozora to eat to her heart's content. Since this is Yozora's first time with human food, she nibbled on the snack's wrapping again. Like a caring older brother, Lu teaches Yozora the appropriate way. Yozora's first experience with human food gives her overwhelming delight. Lu grows enamored of Yozora's adorable expression and gets to offer more to her, until a blinding light suddenly flashes. And just like that, Yozora turns back into her original form, Lu's old smartphone. Lu recalls how Yozora transformed from his old smartphone into a living female. He comes up with two theories: Lu's power refreshes at midnight or when he wakes up. Lu tries to prove the latter by trying to get some sleep. Of course, as expected, the guy can't fall asleep intentionally. Lu sits back up, considers how to fall asleep quickly, and only resorts to the ways of cultured men. But when he reaches for the napkins, Lu is reminded of Yozora's purity and resolves not to indulge his manly impulse. Instead, Lu takes one of his waifu plushies and tucks himself in like a child. The blinding light from earlier flashes again, waking him up just as he is ready to fall asleep. To his astonishment, a voluptuous green-haired young female is beside him on the bed. Yet another transformation occurred, only this time it was his blanket. Lu checks his phone, and one of his theories is confirmed. His power refreshes at midnight. The girl with the green hair invites Lu to sleep with her, but before he can respond, the lady holds him tightly close to her chest and says this is what they usually do together. All hope of converting Yozora has vanished, leaving Lu with nothing to do but weep. But the green-haired lady comforts him by hugging Lu from behind and pressing her huge gift on his back. Lu becomes flustered and eagerly explains the reason to the young girl, but the girl insists on sleeping in the same bed as Lu, just like they normally do when she's a blanket. Lu was forced to comply with the girl's request. He then inquires about the girl's name, and as expected, she does not have any. Lu must come up with a new name for her, and he settles with Beiji. Beiji enjoys her new name instantly, which gives Lu the gist that they were already that close even before this. The girls explain why, but it's more of a reality check for Lu's laziness. After explaining, Beiji takes Lu's hand and places it on her chest, imploring Lu to promise not to hit her. Lu instantly agreed, owing to the pleasantness of the current circumstances. Beiji sleeps comfortably beside Lu, who's now contemplating getting a more practical ability than what he currently has. Lu's concern grows even more as Beiji cuddles him while she sleeps, rubbing her entire voluptuous figure on him, making it difficult for him to sleep. A short while later, the blinding light flashes again, and Beiji transforms back into a blanket. Lu is disappointed, as the transformation only lasted a very short time. Before Lu can sulk himself to a more disappointed state, the aftereffects of his ability take a toll on him, rendering Lu in a very weak state. The next morning, Lu figures out the true nature of his ability. While he is busy trying to figure out his ability, Lu sees that it is unusually noisy outdoors when it should not be. Lu goes outside and discovers that a new tenant is moving in next door. Things outside seem to check out fine, but a strange noise caught Lu off guard right after he closed the door. Lu walks outside to check again and discovers a cute white cat right in front of their door. He gives the cat a good pat until a young girl abruptly calls the cat coffee. A young, cute girl in school uniform arrives for the cat and apologizes to Lu for the disturbance. Lu says it's fine, and he learns that the young girl will be his new neighbor. Call it bad luck or an unusual convenience. But the door to the next unit suddenly closed shut. Lu's new neighbor is now in distress since the keys to the door have been left inside, and she is likely to be late for school. The young girl requests that Lu watch over her pet cat because she urgently needs to get to school. Convinced by the new neighbor's cuteness, Lu accepted the responsibility of caring for the cat for the time being, only to be wishful, thinking that it would be ideal if he was left with a girl dressed as a cat. Lu is surprisingly enthusiastic about the task, as it appears that he longs to have a cute pet. He goes above and beyond to care for the adorable cat, providing it with a toy and plenty of food. Lu grew addicted to the cat's adorable trait without a hitch. But when the cat needs to dump, Lu's dismay instantly prevails. Now he realizes how difficult it is to have a pet. Lu also realizes that what if he tried using his power to transform a living thing, such as a cat, instead? With a cat girl and maid cosplay and his wild imagination, Lu is even more excited for the next refresh of his ability. But upon seeing his old smartphone, Lu is adamant about seeing Yozora tonight, and with oozing eagerness, Lu sets an alarm, a minute before midnight. After a moment, Lu's concern grows as his neighbor has still not picked up the cat in his custody. But when the alarm goes off, Lu is only concerned with transforming his old smartphone into Yozora. When Lu attempted to transform his smartphone, the clever cat foiled him by tossing a plushie into the air, which strangely and conveniently fell into Lu's hand. The cat plushie turns into a little girl, complete with working cat ears and tail. Lu is torn between being unhappy that he hasn't seen Yozora and delighted to witness a living embodiment of his fantasy. Especially when the young cat girl strikes a charming pose for Lu. Lu asks her to stop while breaking the fourth wall, expressing legal concern for the creators of this manhua. Lu reminds the young cat girl that she should behave as a normal human would. The cat girl happily obliges and introduces herself as Mimi, the name Lu's new neighbor gave her. With that, Lu learned that anything he turns into a human preserves the soul within. Another thing that has Lu's attention right now is Mimi's fluffy ears. Lu requests permission to touch Mimi's ears, which Mimi gladly grants. Lu happily massages Mimi's ears, but her tail has stolen his eye. Lu grabbed Mimi's tail out of curiosity, which gave her a strange sensation. Mimi grows uneasy and tells Lu not to do it again. Lu, feeling guilty, tries to bribe Mimi with food, which the adorable cat girl readily accepts. Lu hands her bread and a glass of milk. Mimi is generally oblivious as she drinks milk from a glass like a domestic cat. Lu grabs her and places Mimi on his lap before teaching her how to eat properly like a person. However, the young cat girl is clumsy, like a cute, adorable kid who needs additional care and attention. And just like a kid, Mimi can be adorable at first and annoying later. Mimi and the cat, Coffee, ran around Lu's house. Lu has had enough of the mischievous duo and grabs them both while staring at the havoc they have wreaked. Lu demands an explanation. Mimi tries to entice him with her charms, but she fails. Coffee, on the other hand, is ready to drop one of Lu's prized waifu figurines. Coffee, an adorable kitty turned into a cat with a knack for wickedness, purposefully drops Lu's figurine. Lu was able to save his treasured figurine, but not himself from Coffee's crafty paws, which hit him straight in the face. After the quirky commotion between Lu and Coffee, Mimi sensed their owner's return. Lu can't help but marvel at how a young female student could be so late coming from school. Mimi offers to accompany Lu as he prepares to check on his fashionably late female neighbor. Lu, however, stops her since she will be unrecognizable in her human form. Lu goes alone to check on the girl, and his neighbor, to his surprise, rushes towards him for refuge. He then grabs the young lady by the shoulder and asks whether she is all right. She said that she was simply exhausted from spending the entire day consoling her best friend. Lu, still concerned, asks the young lady questions. The girl interpreted it as though Lu was her father, constantly nagging her. For Lu, however, he is only expressing his deep concern for her own safety. The girl seemed to get his point and now wants her cat back, but Coffee conveniently steps out on its own. The owner is overjoyed to see her favorite cat return and expresses her gratitude to Lu. Lu, who is still unsure how to express things properly, reminds the girl about the cat plushie she gave along with Coffee's pet food. The girl recalls the hand toy but disregards it because it was already Coffee's old toy. Lu is left with no opportunity to explain, and the girl has simply left him standing by the door. When Lu returns home, he discovers Mimi on the floor, weary. He hurries to her aid and asks what is happening. Mimi responds that she feels very exhausted. While Lu is confused, the blinding light emerges and returns Mimi to her previous form as a cat plushie. The plushie floats in the air and speaks. "Thank you," she said. The plushie then gradually perishes into thin air. A powerful, unshakable sense of realization pervades Lu's entire personality. If the owner of something he brings to life no longer wants it, it will disappear as if it never existed. For the last time, Lu remembers Mimi's adorable, innocent smile for him, followed by a stream of tears and a cry of anguish and agony from him. Coffee and Mimi might be gone, but Lu is convinced what happened last night isn't a dream, so he writes down everything that he currently knows about his powers, including details about the time limit, its effects on his body, and the fact that the reanimated object vanishes when its human owner abandons it. Lu tries to move on by making himself excited about reuniting with Yozora, but what happened to Mimi will remain a painful memory for him. Thinking that moping is just a waste of time, Lu sets up an alarm and looks forward to transforming Yozora later. The alarm goes off, and Lu transforms his old smartphone to reunite with Yozora. Yozora quickly lunges at Lu with a warm and loving hug, followed by an awkward but quirky scene between the two. Yozora approached Lu to comfort him about what happened to Mimi. She's fully aware of everything that transpires, even in her original form as a smartphone. Lu replied with an assurance to Yozora that he would never think of abandoning her. Yozora is overjoyed as she expresses her utmost gratitude to her master, Lu. But Lu is growing uncomfortable with the word master as a form of endearment, especially if other people hear her say master out loud in public, like going on a date, for example. Thus, Lu asks Yozora to call him Onichan instead, brother in English translation, and for the first time, Yozora delightfully calls Lu Onichan, which serves as pleasant music to Lu's simpleton ears. The time Lu had been waiting for, a date with Yozora, has arrived. Lu treated Yozora nicely with everything she wanted during the day. Our guy is literally in tears as it is his first time going on a date, and with a cute girlfriend at that. Their date consists of quirky encounters, joyful, wholesome moments, and cute smiles shared by the two. Lu and Yozora were completely living the moment until suddenly someone approached them both, a female vendor of accessories. Yozora is instantly amazed by the shiny objects laid in front of her by the vendor. Lu quickly makes his move, trying to make a purchase to impress his date Yozora. However, due to the vendor's sly nature, Lu didn't have the chance to get his change after purchasing a ring for Yozora. The two now have no choice but to chase the vendor first and cherish the moment later. But the vendor was too quick, and they didn't catch up. What's worse is that both have now ended on the part of the district filled with love hotels. Lu tries to worm their way out of this sticky situation, but let's make things even worse. Add Lu's parents to the mix and voila, their situation is far more complicated than it was when it started. There will be no holy explanation or scholarly reasoning Lu can use if his parents catch him and Yozora lurks in that area of the town. To avoid the stake, Lu enters the lion's den instead by renting a room for him and Yozora at a random hotel. Little did he know, the hotel's receptionist ought to add more twists of awkwardness to Lu's current stick-up by issuing them a love-themed room. But Yozora, being a pure-hearted innocent girl, sees cuteness in the room instead of its real nature or its real purpose. And on the other hand, Lu knows too well what the design of the room is for, making stiff and awkward impressions while inside the said room. He reaches for the air conditioning, trying to make himself comfortable. The cool breeze of the AC somewhat relaxes Lu, but Yozora notices that her Onichan needs more relaxation. Yozora offers Lu a shower, which quickly catches his attention, except that the shower is completely see-through, with Yozora presenting it casually to him. Since the hotel shower is not in Lu's favor, he comes up with an excuse and tells Yozora that he'll do it at home instead. Yozora notices that Lu isn't his normal self. She knows almost everything about Lu already. That's why she can easily sense if something's wrong. Lu instantly feels very embarrassed, thinking Yozora knows him too well, but Yozora assures him that all his secrets are safe with her. As Lu decides to lie down on the bed, Yozora sits beside him. The silence between them breaks when Yozora confesses her feelings to him and says that she wants Lu to be exclusively hers. Not only that, but Yozora also, out of the blue, requests a kiss from Lu. Yozora slowly moves toward Lu, trying to kiss her Onichan, until she is suddenly reminded that the time is now up. The blushing girl turns back to her original form, leaving a loving phrase at the nick of time. Oni-chan, Dasuki. Brother, I love you, she said. Lu's face turns all red as Yozora's confession sinks in. Lu decides to check out, but the receptionist suddenly becomes nosy, asking about the girl he's with when Lu checks in. Witty enough, Lu turns the table instead by pointing out the receptionist's laziness. The receptionist sends him off, but Lu has no plans of going back there again. Lu started the day by continuing to record his observations about his superpower, such as the fact that natural elements like fire or water, as well as living things like cats and plants, cannot activate it. He foolishly tried his power on fire, which led him to believe that his power could not be awakened if a bandage was wrapped around his hand. He then came across a post on social media about a report about an engagement ring that was unintentionally sold to a pedestrian and was trying to identify him to get the ring back. To his amazement, the ring in the photo is the identical ring he purchased for Yozora. The seller who approached them yesterday came to mind, and he wondered why she said in her post that he was alone. He went out right away to find the woman who had sold him the ring. When he got to her, he returned it, and the vendor returned his money as well. He took advantage of the opportunity to inquire if he was alone yesterday and if she remembered the female with him. The woman replied that Lu was strolling alone that day and was puzzled about which girl Lu was referring to. Lu was perplexed and sought clarification at the hotel where they had checked in. He devised a strategy to prevent embarrassment. He made up a narrative about his missing backpack and wanted to see if he brought it out or not. The annoyed receptionist agreed and showed him the film from yesterday, when he was indeed alone and there was no backpack. That night, while taking a shower at his house, he concluded that when the time restriction expires, chunks of people's recollections of the girl will vanish. With a mind clouded with a lot of things, Lou had forgotten about the time. Lou also forgot that he was not wearing his bandage and accidentally activated his power on one of his underpants, and it transformed into a human girl with short gray hair. The girl was surprised that she could speak and stared at Lou's body. Lou realized it, felt embarrassed, and instantly covered himself. She only laughed and teased him, which made him kick the girl out of the bathroom. Lou was worried that that would happen, and it caught him off guard that it came true. After taking a shower, he did not find the girl in his room. He tried to look for her and saw her on the balcony, looking at the city night. She was curious about the outside world because she was always inside his closet or pants. She never got the chance to see the world outside, so she asked Lou to take her outside occasionally so she could breathe. Because of what she said, Lou's crazy imagination ran wild again, like he was thinking about wearing a long coat and exposing his underwear in public, making him look like a pervert. So he disagreed with the girl's request. So the girl explained thoroughly about going out just this once. He instantly agreed to it, and she jumped for joy. Lou was taken aback when she suddenly kissed him on the cheeks and excitedly grabbed him outside without letting him wear any clothes. Of course, Lou went out with the girl with his clothes on. Lou got a little tired from the girl dragging him and walking too fast. She asked him if he was physically weak, and for Lou, that sentence sounded weird coming from her. She again started dragging Lou for a walk, and while they were at it, he thought that she didn't have a name yet, so she called her Gray. She didn't really care about him giving her a name, and the attitude reminded her of Beiji. As she looked around the park, her eyes locked on a vending machine, and she got curious about it. Lou told her what that was and offered her a drink, but she wasn't interested in it at all. Still, Lou gave her a taste of the drink. As they sat on a bench drinking the Coke, Gray asked Lou if they could not go home tonight. He instantly said no because the weather was chilly and he might get ill, but Gray acted drunk to make him agree not to go home. Lou did not buy it, as it was impossible to get drunk with Coke. He lost track of time after objecting to her spending the night in the park, and the elderly couple walking by woke him up. Lou realized it was already morning, he's still at the bench, and that he had unconsciously slept there while he was hugging his underwear. Lou decided to start his new day by lying down on the floor and reading manga about people with multiple superpowers, wondering if his superpowers could be upgraded someday. He stayed positive about it, and maybe he could make sailor uniformed girls or mecha girls. But just thinking about it made him realize that he may need to consume a lot of his energy just to make one of them. A loud noise from a car coming from the parking lot ended his contemplation about superpowers. He looked out from his balcony and saw two suspicious people doing something in the car. He instantly thought that they might be car thieves. He decided to go down and check it out. He hid somewhere where they couldn't see him. While the two thieves are busy unlocking the car, he has a crazy idea. He took out his phone and decided to throw it at the thieves. To their surprise, Yozora appeared out of nowhere and ended up hitting one of the thieves. She was sitting in the face of one of them, making him unconscious. She was also surprised by what was happening. One of the thieves was confused about what was happening, and Lou decided to be a superhero by jumping and doing his profound skill, Diable Janmi, which hit the head of the thief. After the car theft incident, they were back at the apartment, and Lou saw the news about it. The thieves are caught, and one of the thieves tried to explain what happened. The police and media did not believe him when he said the mobile phone transformed into a person, which caused his buddy to be unconscious. He was amazed that he could be a hero using his superpowers and that he could control the timing of Yozora's transformation. While he was amazed by himself, Yozora felt hot and asked Lou if she could take off her clothes. He then decided, instead of her taking her clothes off casually, why don't he take Yozora out to swim? That day, he took Yozora to the swimming park. She was amazed and excited at the same time, as she had never swam in her life. In Lou's mind, of course, because she swam as a phone, she would have been damaged by now. A tall, gorgeous woman in a white one-piece bikini suddenly came out of nowhere and offered them to buy a swimsuit since she saw them wearing casual clothing. Lou, as a man of culture, had his face flushed bright red by the woman's beauty. She led them to her shop, and Yozora told Lou that those pretty swimsuits were just like those on his phone. He was embarrassed by it because the woman heard it. He made the excuse that they're as his art pieces. The woman acknowledged it while bragging about how she created those. Lou whispered in Yozora's ear that she shouldn't talk about the photos on his phone. Lou was surprised when the woman shoved the bikinis right in front of his face, telling him that those are his proudest works and that she would give him discounts for them. But for Lu, those are too bold. One-piece suits are too childish to look at. But a couple's swimsuit caught his eye, and the flowy design of the swimsuit for Yozora fits her perfectly. After trying the swimsuit, he was amazed when he saw how cute Yozora was in her attire. They were about to go out of the shop to swim when he crossed paths with one of his friends. They came across Lu's childhood friend, Sin Shaolin. Shaolin is clearly in a bad mood, especially after seeing Lu strolling around with a cutie beside him. Lu introduces Yozora to Xiaolin, who is now much more irritated than before, especially after hearing Yozora mention the term onichin. It turns out that Shaolin has had feelings for Lu since they were kids. Back in the day, Shaolin even proposed to Lu, but Lu dismissed it as a humorous whim from a younger sibling. Besides, Lu thought they were too young for something like that at the time, but Shaolin has taken everything seriously since then. Despite the awkward intro meeting, Shaolin is such a good sport and introduces herself to Yozora in a sincere manner. It is so sincere that Shaolin seems to have known Yozora for years. Before leaving with her friends, Shaolin even warned Lu not to hurt Yozora in any way. The date between Yozora and Lu has passed, and Yozora finds Lu's popularity with other girls to be bothersome. Lu assured her that he solely considers Shaolin a sibling, but Yozora wants more guarantees. This leads Lu to ask if Yozora is willing to make their relationship official. But Yozora returns to her original form before she can convey her delightfulness at what Lu has just said. Lu genuinely vowed to wait for Yozora, no matter what. On the following day, Lu wakes up to an urgent call from his mom. Lu had no choice but to see his mother after being chastised for his tardiness. His mother shows Lu their old, battered red car, which has been unusable for some time due to an unknown malfunction. Lu's job is to repair the car, or his mother will have it replaced with a new one. Lu is not a skilled mechanic, yet he strongly opposes people abandoning beloved items simply because they are already worn out. So Lu tells his mother to leave the problem to him. Lu wants to be alone so he can use his power to convert the car into a girl and figure out what's causing the problem. The blinding light appears, and the red car transforms into a red-haired girl. The girl quickly recognized Lu as her master's son, despite her weary state. Lu offers her some water, but because she has only used petrol in her car form, the girl coughs it back up, soaking her clothes. Lu also noticed that the girl coughed out some used engine oil along with some metal bits. These could be what caused the malfunction, as the girl appears to be feeling better after coughing it out. The redhead lady shows her appreciation to Lu, and the reward arrives unexpectedly generous. Our guy is now offered a voluptuous pair of thighs and knee-high stockings to sit on. However, Lu declines the generous offer, which the redhead girl interprets as age discrimination. The old car has been in Lu's family for almost 15 years, and the red-haired girl is aware of its fate when it is no longer safe to drive. She doesn't mind being abandoned, especially now that she has miraculously transformed from an inanimate object into a living, cute girl. But the red-haired girl has one simple but heartfelt request for Lu. Take her outside for one last time. Lu says her request is too simple, and he can come up with a better long-term plan. He asks Yozora for help and comes up with a far superior solution. Any vehicle can still be used even after 15 years if it has received proper maintenance care. The redhead girl is overjoyed with what she just heard from Lu, grabs him, and thanks him sincerely. Lu is delighted as well, but before he can express himself further, his power takes another toll on him, knocking him out. Lu awakens in the following scene, with the girl transforming back into an old red automobile in the garage. Lu couldn't stop thinking about the true nature of his ability, and when his mother unlocks the garage door, she finds a bothered Lu. But Lu's ability to fix their old car truly amazed the mother. Lu then asks his mother if she is willing to give him their old car instead. Lu was not surprised when his mother quickly agreed. What surprises our MC is when his mother talks about him having a girlfriend already, which could suggest the mother might remember Yozora. Lu's mother agrees, somewhat angrily, that she does remember meeting Yozora. To avoid making his mother even more angry, Lu promised to take Yozora to meet his grandfather. After a few warm regards from his mother, Lu drives the red car home with him. Lu couldn't help but wonder what makes his mother remember Yozora when others don't. As he thinks of a way to confirm his theory, Lu sees something strange on the sidewalks and instantly stops the car. Lu notices a wounded cat left on its own. The cat bears a striking resemblance to Mimi, his neighbor's white cat. Lu, being the kind soul he is, takes the cat home with him and takes care of it. Lu named the cat Mimi, and it was overjoyed to have a new home and a kind new owner, but the case speaks differently for Lu. Because now the lovable furry companion looks to have captured both Yozora and Biji's attention, leaving our MC feeling lonely. But for the time being, Lu must confront a much more worthy opponent, his final exam. As Lu attempts to focus on his exams, the whimsical cat grabs the end of Lu's bandage, and the blinding light flashes soon after. Lu is stunned to discover a short-haired female sitting on his work desk in front of him, having gone from clutching a solid plastic mouse to holding the soft, tender thigh of this girl. With the normal reflex of a gamer, Lu clenched the girl's thigh even more, which also triggered the girl's own reflex to land a counterattack on Lu, a straight, hard kick to the face. Not only did Lu not anticipate the girl's powerful kick, but he also did not anticipate that, unlike the other girls who transformed, this mousy girl is uninterested in a new moniker. The girl is more concerned about how she physically appears as a human. Lu takes advantage of this and manages to keep the girl away from his workstation. He merely wanted to see the results of his examinations until he realized he couldn't operate the computer since his mouse had transformed into a girl. Lu gives Mousy a good look, trying to figure out how to use her like a normal mouse cursor. Lu's awkward looks lead Mousy to believe that he is plotting something horrible against her, which Lu promptly rejects. So Lu patiently explains to Mousy that all he needs is his mouse to check his exam results on the computer. Mousy will gladly assist Lu on the condition that she first receive a body massage. Mousy is constantly pounded with simultaneous quick clicking from our MC, Lu, thanks to his heavy gaming sessions. And Lu hears it right. A cute, short-haired girl demands a body massage from Lu. Lu had no choice but to comply and give her demands pronto. Everything appears to be innocent with Lu's massage to Mousy, and the girl appears to like it until Lu has a bright idea. Lu tightly grips Mousy's legs and disguises it as a traditional Chinese massage. Lu's massage causes Mousy to make strange noises and get terribly tickled, but Lu claimed that she would feel great and that it would all be worthwhile in the end. Mousy had no choice but to accept and tolerate Lu's deception towards her. Soon later, Lu's cunningness immediately backfires on him, as Mousy emits even more weird sounds that could potentially fluster the entire planet. Lu ends the massage and Mousy appears to be satisfied with it and off to do Lu's favor. The moment of truth approaches as Lu uses Mousy to go through his computer and verify the results of his exams. Lu passed with a score that was literally hanging by a thread. Lu rejoices at barely passing the exam while making Mousy feel embarrassed for the guy. After a grueling final exam, Lu is yet to face another challenge called summer homework. With Lu's unbelievable ability to have a very low IQ and an outstanding skill for being lazy, Lu couldn't think of a single word to write. Lu would rather spend his time and effort in being a cat than working on his summer homework. Hopeless and desperate, Lu uses his power to transform his beloved fountain pen. The blinding light flashes, and the pen transforms into a captivating white-haired babe. Not only does the girl come with a very captivating physical appearance, but she also has an unbeatable honesty that immediately slaps Lu with the cold, hard truth about him. Lu names the white-haired babe Lemmy just like the fountain pen's very own brand. He wasted no time and begged Lenny for help. As quickly as Lu begs the lady, he gets a faster refusal from her. First, Lu must do something for her before she grants Lu's request. Talk about Mousy's omen. Lenny couldn't think of anything for a favor right now, but that doesn't mean Lu is off the hook. Instead, Lenny teaches her lame master how to do his own schoolwork. Lu still insists that Lenny should serve him by doing his homework in his place. But Lenny displays her menacing side and urges Lu to be obedient or face punishment. Lu immediately obeys and works on his homework under Lenny's supervision. The misfit of a do finished one subject, and it proves one hell of a challenge for Lenny to teach someone with a very low IQ. Lenny decides to take a nap to replenish her fallen brain cells, while Lu is excited to begin working on his biology subject. But Lu is an all-bark kind of guy, and the biology homework swallows him whole, soul included. Lu therefore resorted, as before, to demanding Lenny's assistance. Only this time, Lenny triumphs over him. Lenny's enticing features now physically sit on top of Lu as he lays on the bed. She declares that she will teach Lu biology in her own way. Lu wakes up with no memory of what happened. Lu sees a letter on top of his homework stating that Lenny had done him a one-off by finishing his assignment. His joy at having his tasks completed is overwhelming, and so is his concern about what happened when Lenny got on top of him. which puts us, the audience, in the same boat as Lu. As part of his summer community service, Lu will start working as a cleaner the next day in a scenic spot. Lu is basically stuck with no option but to agree. The only advantage is that the position does not have a supervisor who is annoying and pompous, so Lu promptly changes into his uniform and begins his service. Lu hears a commotion nearby and goes to investigate. To his surprise, Lu sees a familiar face, Jong Yun. The uproar is caused by Jong Yun's ex-boyfriend, who continues to bother this damsel. Lu steps up to confront the menacing man, but he insists that Lu should mind his own business instead. But Lu musters his courage and uses his wits and a mighty but normal broom to turn the person away. The ex-boyfriend turns tail and runs away for his life. Lu's bravery moves Jong Yun, and she expresses her sincere gratitude. The two are ready to catch up when it suddenly begins to rain, forcing them to shelter in Lu's parked car. Apparently, Jong Yun's parents are so strict that she would be in big trouble if she returned home drenched. So she asked Lu if she could stay at his place until the rain stopped and her clothes dried. Jong Yun asks Lu as if she's a damsel in another distress. Another moment where Lu is basically stuck with no options but to agree. The two arrive at Lu's humble abode, and apparently, this is Jong Yun's first time visiting Lu at his house. As expected, the cat that Lu recently adopted instantly steals the female visitor's attention too. Lu gives his friend a towel and a dry set of his clothes. As soon as Jong Yun goes for a shower, Lu somehow regrets his decision to take Jong Yun to his house. But what's done is done, so Lu catches up with his friend Jong Yun over a bowl of hot noodle soup. Jong Yun can't help but notice the fountain pen she gave Lu a long time ago. Lu almost choked on the food he was eating, as he was somewhat reminded of Lammy. But Jong Yun is glad that Lu still finds her gift useful. As a gesture of her appreciation, Jong Yun insisted on washing the dishes. But Lu is too embarrassed to let his visitor do such a chore, so he insists on doing it instead, resulting in his bandage wearing off on its own. With a strike of unfortunate events caused again by the whimsical furry pet of Lu, Jong Yun suddenly loses her balance and is about to fall. Lu quickly saves Jong Yun from falling to the floor, but Lu cannot save himself from what's about to happen. The bandage on Lu's right hand completely unravels, and the shirt Jong Yun is wearing instantly transforms into a little girl. The cute little girl playfully greeted the now shirtless Jong Yun, and the embarrassed lady replied with only a scream. An eerie silence hugged the whole room, leaving the little girl confused. The silence broke down after a few minutes when Jong Yun demanded an explanation from Lu about what just happened and how the little girl appeared out of nowhere. Before Lu gave an explanation, he nervously asked her to promise him not to think of him as a delusional person. Lu courageously told her that he had superpowers, which shocked Jong Yun. She thought he was just exaggerating, but he thoroughly asked her to think about it and how he could possibly take off her clothes and make a little girl appear that instant. She thought long and hard about it, and it made sense since the little girl also looked like the shirt she was wearing. She finally agreed with him, though she's still confused about what his superpower is all about. He tried explaining everything from how it started until she finally believed him. Lu then asked her to keep the superpower a secret from others. As a friend, she understood the situation and agreed to his request. One thing she is concerned about is what to do about the little girl. He explained that she would transform back into her original form in due time. Her following question created another awkwardness between them. She asked if Lu saw something when she fell earlier, but she shrugged it off, leaving Lu confused. She changed the topic in a second, asking about the time. When she saw that it was nearly midnight, it got her worried, as her house is very far from Lu's and her parents are very strict, so they decided to make her stay the night at his place in exchange for Lu being her boyfriend. Lu is in a state of shock, and his imagination runs so wild that he thinks that Jong Yun likes him, but it seems impossible, and maybe he is just overthinking. He tried to stay calm and asked her why she would want him to be her boyfriend. Jong Yun explained that if he became her fake boyfriend, she could stay the night, and her parents wouldn't complain. In her mind, she's going to use Lu as a shield from guys who constantly pester her. Lu agrees with it, and she also asks him if he could be her boyfriend during normal times because she is afraid of her crazy ex-boyfriend. Lu agreed to it because it is fake anyway. Their topic was soon directed to the little girl, and she was asked to give her a name. Lu named her Yayi after a piece of clothing. She was then disappointed with the way he named the girls. She instantly knew how he named other girls in the same way. He thought that women's intuition was scary, but setting the scary intuition aside, she liked the name Yayi as it sounded nice. and for him to easily remember. Yai also agreed to it. Then they ended the day by sleeping. The morning came and Zhang Yun was bidding her farewell as she would go home. Lu asked if she needed a ride, but she declined. Lu was surprised when she leaned toward him, thinking that she'd kiss him. She was just going to ask him if Yai turned back to her original form. Lu was confused because she remembered her, despite Yai turning back to normal. After she left, a big question was on Lu's mind. How can she remember Yai even if she is not blood related to him? The ringing of his doorbell signals the start of the day for Lu. He furiously went to the door to answer it, but he was taken aback when he saw his little neighbor. She asked him if she interrupted his sleep, but he said no at that instant, telling her that he had already been awake for quite a while. The little neighbor asked him if he had a TV she could borrow because theirs was broken, and her classmates were going over to play video games. Lu, disappointed, told the little girl that he didn't have a TV, and she was shocked to know that there really was a person who didn't have a television at home. He calmly asked what was wrong with that. She said sorry for the trouble and left. Once he entered his room, he was thinking, isn't it normal for a guy who is alone not to have a television since he has a computer? He was going back to bed when his doorbell rang once again. His angry face showed up, and when he saw a delivery man, his face turned awkward. He received a huge parcel from his mother. To his surprise, it is an old box-type television. Lu thought his mother thought of him as a recycling center where old, unused junk was thrown at him. He tried to turn on the television, and it was working for a second, then white noise came out, and then it was working again. He saw the TV model was already phased out, so he retracted the idea of turning the old TV into a human. The old television turned into a young, beautiful woman with long black hair and called him young master, as her memory preserved that she remembered him, but not the house. Lu promised to fix her to the best of his ability. But another thing is on her mind, and she also asked him to see the outside world with her own two eyes, not using her signals. Lu takes her out to see the real world with her own two eyes, and she is amazed by what she is experiencing. She excitedly points to every restaurant and building that she knows and tells him what their uses are, especially the hotel, where she loudly and proudly said that it is where girls and boys date. He shockingly covered her loud mouth because too many people heard her. He decides to drag her away from that place and go to the mall instead. They were happily strolling around the mall while eating ice cream when she saw a beautiful blue dress by the store window. He read about the situation and allowed her to go inside the store. But before she could even browse the store, Lu asked the store assistant to make her try the blue dress she was looking at earlier. The moment she goes out of the dressing room with the dress on, the shop assistant and Lu give her a thumbs up, signaling that the dress suits her, and he instantly pays for the dress. While they are continuing to stroll around the mall, they cross paths with cosplayers who are holding a cosplay experience event. They approach the REM cosplayer, and she asks them if they wanted to experience cosplay. Lu consents that she wants to try it but is just shy, so he urges her to try it even if it's her first time. She tries different kinds of costumes, and they all look cute on her. The cosplay staff asks them if they want to have their picture taken together. They both agree and take a picture of him and her while she is wearing a maid costume with thigh-high socks. They were walking home when she smiled at Lu and thanked him for fulfilling her wish. In her eyes, she is sad because she knows that she is already old and broken. After telling him that she had no more regrets, she suddenly vanished into thin air. Lu could not believe the television princess was gone just like that. His memory of her strikes him as painfully as when Nimi vanished. The next day, Lu takes Yozora on a shopping spree, telling her that she needs a wardrobe change. Yozora seems to not understand the essence at first, but when Lu tells her that she only wears one conspicuous dress, taking her out in public attracts unwanted attention. Not long after, Yozora feasts her eyes on a variety of clothes at the store. Given a ton of choices, the girl couldn't decide which one to pick. Lu helps her choose and goes to the fitting room to try, but our MC forgets one important detail. He forgot to pick a pair of pants for Yozora. Luckily, Lu is just nearby and prevents Yozora from coming out of the fitting room in such a revealing state. Lu rushes to grab a pair of pants for Yozora and calls it quits before anything worse happens. The two walk home while Yozora wears a cute smile while hugging new gifts that Lu bought for her. She couldn't thank Lu enough for making her happy that day, but Lu suddenly got very serious and halted. As our protagonist expresses his genuine gratitude to Yozora, a stream of tears comes rushing down from Lu's eyes. Yozora immediately feels the pain that Lu is enduring. She hugs the broken man and assures him that Lu will meet the television princess and Nimi again. Later that night, Lu decided to drown himself in gaming until he realized he hadn't eaten anything. He has no food left in the storage, so he must go out and restock his supplies. But as clumsy as he is, Lu forgets to put the bandage wrap on his right hand again. Too hungry or too lazy to bother himself with returning to get the bandage, Lu decides to make it quick and return before midnight. But we already know that this guy is a magnet for bad luck, don't we? Lu bought his stacks of instant noodles until he decided to have a different meal for a change tonight. He walks to a nearby diner and orders a beef rice bowl to go. Things didn't go as smoothly as he planned. Lu needs to make a run for it before he accidentally transformed a random object in the street. Rushing with quick steps, Lu suddenly slips and is about to fall. Lu amused everyone in sight as he successfully managed not to fall. But now Lu thinks he's in the clear. He takes a breather by leaning with his hand on the building wall. Thinking something that massive won't transform, well, think again. The whole building flashes in bright light, and a loud sound can be heard as if something exploded. After the bright light shines, the next thing Lu knows is that he is about to fall. Surprisingly, Lu comes unscathed after a great fall. But what is more surprising is that he manages to land comfortably on the very plump chest of a pretty blonde girl. With the massive building mysteriously disappearing into thin air, the scene is immediately covered by bystanders and policemen. One investigator questions Lu and the blonde girl, as they were both found exactly where the unexplainable event happened. Lu explains himself calmly to the investigator, while the blonde girl beside him lacks interest in talking. To avoid further involvement, Lu makes up a careful alibi that the girl is his younger sibling, currently in shock over what just happened. The investigator bought the excuse, and they're now both free to go. Now the big question is, how can Lu turn the blonde girl into a massive building without directing any attention to him while doing so? Lu cannot afford to be exposed as the culprit for the building's disappearance, especially when onlookers are now speculating that what happened is supernatural. He tries to ask the blonde girl for a favor, which she happily obliges as she remembers Lu's good deeds in the past. Lu diverts all the bystanders' attention by pretending to see a peculiar object while the blonde girl waits in position. Suddenly, when everyone is looking the other way, a massive ray of light flashes and the building reappears in its original location. Lu breathed a sigh of relief as the blonde girl successfully made it in time. His friend, Zhang Yun, surprisingly won this luxury cruise for two and decided to invite Lu. Lu arrives there early, and Zhang Yun playfully surprises him before boarding the cruise ship. The two notice a commotion happening on board, and it turns out that the cruise ship is undergoing maintenance until tomorrow. Since there's nothing Lu and Zhang Yun can do to change the facts, they roam the cruise ship instead. Zhang Yun is easily lured by the fancy merchandise on board, while Lu barely resists getting into the shopping spree temptation. After a whole day of roaming around the luxurious cruise ship, they decided to call it a day and rest in their room. But there's only one bed inside, and Zhang Yun casually invites Lu to sleep beside her. Lu quickly denounces her offer, which greatly surprises his friend. Not because of the way he rejected it, but because Lu spilled too much for his own good. Zhang Yun now insists Lu come clean and tell who's the lucky girl he just mentioned. But she is not prepared for what Lu is about to tell her next. Lu's girlfriend is, of course, none other than Yozora herself. Now Zhang Yun keeps pushing her luck by demanding Lu summon her right now with them, which Lu hopelessly obeys. The adorable cuteness of Yozora immediately steals Zhang Yun's heart, and she becomes too comfortable with her in an instant. Zhang Yun hugs and treats Yozora like a sibling, and Lu, on the other hand, is left in the oblivion of being instantly ignored. Luckily for him, Yozora always has her attention on Lu. But Yozora can't help but notice that the surroundings are strangely different this time. Lu explains about this luxury cruise ship tour, while Zhang Yun invites her for a night stroll on the ship's deck. Yozora becomes overwhelmingly excited when she first hears the term sea and immediately wants to look for herself. Lu is against the idea, but with Yozora's enthusiasm and Zhang Yun's cunning influence over the innocent young lady, Lu can't do a single thing to stop them. The breathtaking view on the ship's deck makes Yozora feel filled with unexplainable joy. Her heartfelt excitement and delight clearly showed all over her cute face, and Lu couldn't help but fall in love even more with the lady. But the beautiful moment quickly turns sour when two drunk male passengers start harassing both Yozora and Zhang Yun. Lu tries to step in, but he is easily shoved aside by the two drunk men. Left with no option to save the two girls, Lu decides to throw anything he can find. Then he sees the replica of the cruise ship he bought earlier at the merchandise store. As he is about to throw and use the replica as a weapon against the two drunkards, the figurine suddenly heats up and emits a blinding light that fills the whole deck of the ship. From the flood of light emerges yet another transformed lady, with hair as pale as snow and eyes gleaming in crimson red. Everyone is stunned by her dramatic entrance, and the two drunkards' attention is now drawn toward the white-haired lady. The two simpletons mistake the girl for a cosplayer who happens to mysteriously appear out of nowhere. Until the white-haired girl starts talking like she's on a warfare sort of roleplay. The drunkards find it hilarious, but Lou takes it seriously and grants her permission to launch an attack. And with only a single move faster than the blink of an eye, the white-haired lady incapacitated both menacing drunkards. Both amazed and scared, Lou is filled with great joy at having to summon such a powerful lady as her. But the white-haired lady proves to be overpowered as she plans to finish both the drunkards with her hand cannon. Lou managed to stop the young lady before she could completely obliterate the drunkards into tiny pieces. Yozora and Zhang Yun express their sincere gratitude to the lady, who admits she is simply following Lu's orders as a subordinate. But before she can continue with their battleship warfare roleplay, they need to return to their room immediately before they attract further unwanted attention. With Zhang Yun and Yozora sleeping like babies in the bed due to exhaustion, Lu is left awake while contemplating summoning two girls simultaneously in a single day, all while being stared awkwardly at by the woman with white hair. The white-haired girl is undoubtedly cute and cool, but she does act strangely odd and stares like a creep. The next morning on the cruise ship, Lu awakens and finds both the white-haired girl and Yozora in their original forms, and Zhang Yun still sleeping in her bed, fragile as a baby. Lu notices Zhang Yun's delicately seductive figure and can't help but channel his inner man of culture. Fortunately, Lu is able to shake off those cultural notions just as Zhang Yun awakens, an awkward early morning situation with Lu fleeing the scene to escape judgment and a barely awake Zhang Yun clueless of what just happened. Speaking of clueless, Lu only realizes that the ship is sailing to Japan. While having breakfast with him, Zhang Yun confirms it, and quickly, Lu begins to brew his plans in his mind. Zhang Yun feels awkward as she stares at Lu, who has a creepy, strange smile on his face, like a guy gone insane. But Zhang Yun's got a plan as well. Zhang Yun wishes Lu would summon Yozora and spend more time with them. Because Lu and Yozora now have a special bond, summoning her again is totally just according to Zhang Yun's point. With Yozora back on board, their day on the cruise becomes more delightful. However, later that evening in the ship's dining hall, Lu's group overheard a dispute at the other table. A man in absolute dismay yells to the other two men sitting in front of him. The two men being chastised are the same drunkards who tried to harass Yozora and Zhang Yun on the ship's deck the night before. Although the two men had forgotten what had happened to them that night, the scene of them being scolded like children was an unforgettable memory for Lu, Zhang Yun, and Yozora. Feeling fulfilled, the gang couldn't help but laugh and enjoy the rest of the evening. And the day Lu has been anticipating has arrived. They arrived in Japan. Filled with uncontainable joy and excitement, Lu spends the whole day with Zhang Yun, visiting Japan's famous landmarks and tourist spots. And after the long day, they head to the hot spring hotel for the evening. Lu's awe at the traditional Japanese interior architecture of the space is evident, and he couldn't help but cherish every inch of the room's interior. Somehow awkward but wholesome to say the least, until Lu's mind is pricked with his cultured thoughts once more. Staying in the same room with Zhang Yun gives him the wishful thought of a chance to have intimate acts with her. And when Zhang Yun invites Lu to try the hotel's hot spring after dinner, boy does his cultured thoughts grow further. But Lu suffers a severe blow to his spirit when Zhang Yun follows her request with another, inviting Yozora to spend the female hot spring with him. With a broken soul, Lu could only watch Zhang Yun and Yozora enjoy a great evening of hot springs together without him. Zhang Yun and Yozora spend their time in the hot spring like siblings, having casual chats while enjoying the refreshing water. But we all know Yozora isn't your average person, right? The small girl couldn't help but notice her physical difference from Zhang Yun, so she asked Zhang Yun. Yozora's question, while sincere and a little naive, puts Zhang Yun in an awkward position, wanting to touch her matured-grown front cushions. While timid and embarrassed, Zhang Yun responds to Yozora like a concerned older sister would. Zhang Yun allows Yozora to satisfy her curiosity for a brief moment until she becomes overwhelmed. Zhang Yun runs, filled with embarrassment, and instructs Yozora to return to the hotel. But what's truly embarrassing is that, beyond the thin walls, a man clearly overheard everything from start to finish. A man named Lu. Their Japan tour has ended, and it's time to return home. This time, however, it will be by plane. Apparently, Lu has a fear of heights and can only grab Zhang Yun like a terrified child. Instead, Zhang Yun advises him to sleep, which he does. Lu falls asleep, but a distressed Zhang Yun wakes him up moments later. The plane they're on is about to crash. Eager to save Zhang Yun, Lu uses his power to transform the entire aircraft into a human in order to save Zhang Yun. The plane transforms into a woman, and Lu leaves the rest to her. However, their situation also transformed from bad to disastrous. All the passengers are now plummeting from the sky since the plane becomes a flying woman with aircraft wings dressed like a stewardess. Lu, who could only scream his lungs out, screams as they all plummet from the sky. His scream is so loud that it jolts him awake from his dream. Lu surprises everyone on the plane, including Zhang Yun. With his sudden weirdness act, Lu must now endure both his fear of heights and utter embarrassment for the rest of the flight. Finally, they arrive safely. Before parting ways, Lu expresses his heartfelt gratitude to Zhang Yun. He attempts to hail a cab for the lady, but Zhang Yun insists not to. She says her father is on his way to fetch her up, and a split second after saying that, Zhang Yun's father arrived. Zhang Yun's father rolls down the car window and gives Lu a slicing gaze. Speechless, Lu does nothing except wish Zhang Yun well and depart. Lu returns home immediately, eager to meet his adopted pet Mimi. But the excitement rapidly fades when he sees how chaotic and disorganized the house has become. Well, what do you expect after leaving your cat alone for 2 days? Lu's earthly body is still rooted in his bed after spending the entire night cleaning Mimi's mess. If it hadn't been for Zhang Yun's call, this helpless man may still be in bed, sleeping until the afternoon. The call, however, was not meant simply to wake Lu up but to surprise him. Zhang Yun's present is set to be delivered that day, which happens to come immediately after Zhang Yun hangs up the phone. Lu's body immediately fills with energy, and he rushes to the door, then grabs the parcel Zhang Yun sent. Much to his surprise, it's a limited edition waifu mate figure that he's always desired. Zhang Yun's act moves Lu so much that he refers to her as a heaven-sent angel on earth. Lu unboxes the made figurine quickly, but his excitement causes him to be careless. A tiny gap in Lu's bandaged right hand triggers his power, which transforms the figurine. And voila, it turns into a living human, retaining its looks and appearance. Lu was in a state of intense shock at the time. Not only does Lu's power now work on waifu figurines, but the waifu made in front of him passionately refers to him as Master. One truly remarkable event in Lu's life moves him to tears of joy, enhancing his cultured thoughts. But what's more remarkable is that Tsukihime, the waifu maid, can handle all kinds of chores like a regular maid, help that Lu desperately needs. His house is a terrible mess as a result of his Japan vacation and, of course, Lu's laziness. Tsukihime couldn't help but feel beholden to his master Lu. Before he can complete his thoughts, Tsukihime rushes past Lu and begins her duties as a responsible waifu maid. The impressive-looking maid did an excellent job cleaning Lu's apartment, which is now immaculately clean. Both Tsukihime's physical features as well as her household abilities completely astound Lu. And yet again, Lu begins to brew mischievous thoughts that will benefit both his laziness and his man of culture thinking in the future. This simpleton Lu is so engrossed in his manly thoughts that he's almost forgotten it's already noon. Tsukihime, filled with a strong sense of duty, offers her services to cook for her master Lu. And of course, this is music to Lu's ears. Tsukihime wastes no time and rushes to the kitchen to cook, but she can't start. The poor girl simply didn't realize how lazy Lu was. No matter how good a maid Tsukihime is, no one can cook a proper meal using only junk food and packs of instant noodles, the only items considered food in Lu's apartment. Tsukihime offers to go out and buy the ingredients herself. Lu swiftly disagrees, stating that Tsukihime's attire will undoubtedly attract unwanted attention. Hence, Lu insists that Tsukihime prepare instant noodles for him for the time being, and Tsukihime gladly obliges. While waiting, Lu hears Tsukihime cry in the kitchen. Lu rushes in and discovers Tsukihime on the kitchen floor. Fortunately, the maid only nibbed one of her fingertips on the hot pot while cooking. Lu helps Tsukihime by running her burned fingertip with tap water. Lu's generous acts slightly confused Tsukihime as to why she is being taken care of by her own master. But Lu only genuinely cares about her and also appreciates everything she has accomplished thus far. Tsukihime couldn't help but blush and feel giddy as she expressed her appreciation to Lu as well. In the following scene, Lu is greatly satisfied with Tsukihime's cooking. For Tsukihime, seeing her master filled with satisfaction due to her services fills her with nothing but joy, and she wishes to serve him more. And right when her master Lu says he wants to take a nap, Tsukihime grabs him by the head and places him on her lap. Lu is completely caught off guard by Tsukihime's act and quickly sits up while feeling dumbfounded. Tsukihime got confused about why her master didn't want to be served. She then asks Lu if her lap isn't comfortable enough to sleep on. But before Lu could even come up with a good reason, Tsukihime grabbed his head and placed it on her lap again. Resistance is futile, and Lu's left with no choice but to let Tsukihime do her job. Tsukihime tells Lu a bedtime story even though he is only taking an afternoon nap. Lu falls asleep, and Tsukihime returns to her original form as a figurine. While Lu is sleeping like a baby on the floor, a strange blonde woman dressed like a goddess appears out of nowhere. After giving a sleeping Lu a stare of dismay, the blonde woman magically summons a lump of water out of thin air and then throws it to Lu. Lu immediately wakes up and sits right up, confused and soaking wet. He looks around until he notices a blonde woman in front of him, a woman who introduces herself as Goddess Alice. And yes, indeed, this Goddess Alice is the one who appeared in Lu's dream and gave him the superpower to transform inanimate objects into female humans. Astonished by Goddess Alice's peculiar attitude and alluring body, Lu couldn't help but wonder what he owed for the pleasure of being personally visited by the goddess herself. He also tries to ask the goddess why she chose him as the power bearer amongst other people. But too many questions from Lu made the goddess before him agitated. All that Lu got in return was a cup of tea landing on his head. Still, the question of why Lu is chosen by the goddess is as vague as any. To think that Goddess Alice is just any other deity who hands out superpowers at random, she then reveals her true motive. The Earth is about to face a cataclysmic destruction that will wipe out the entire human existence. Being part of the clan that created the entire universe, Goddess Alice is responsible for making sure that Earth's destruction is avoided. But Lu still cannot figure out how his power of transforming objects into waifus can actually save the world. Goddess Alice becomes even more agitated and throws yet another cup of tea on Lu's head. "To change the world," she said, and the story's plot thickens. As human greed continuously grows, Earth's destruction is inevitable. To prevent this cataclysmic event, Goddess Alice chose 3 people to serve as heroes to do her bidding, to change the world before it faces destruction. And one of the 3 heroes chosen is Lu. Out of all the seriously grave matters that Goddess Alice mentioned to Lu, all he thinks is that he now suddenly becomes the protagonist of some hardcore action anime show, saving the world. Also, Lu is more concerned about meeting the other 2 than figuring out how in the world he could save the world itself. But the only thing Goddess Alice does is enhance Lu's power before taking her leave and vanishing into thin air. With no one else to ask, Lu couldn't help but feel abandoned. Lu still keeps wondering about the purpose of his power to save the world until he falls asleep. Quick moments later, Lu wakes up in a dream, floating in outer space in his astral form. There he met Goddess Alice again, but now with 2 unknown people. And at that point, Lord Alice shows them something that will shape their perspectives anew. Using her great power, Goddess Alice projects the future of Earth, from a life-filled planet to an inhabitable barren planet, an Earth with no life and the extinction of the human race. Lu and the other 2 mysterious people are in a state of shock and horror, but it is up to them 3 whether the Earth will become like this or if they will be able to save it. It is such a challenging mission that Goddess Alice has come to rely on these 3 chosen heroes. To add to the enormity of the task, Goddess Alice gives the 3 heroes a year to save the planet. If they fail after that time limit, Goddess Alice will do nothing and let all of humanity to perish. And Lu awakens with heavy breathing as if he had a nightmare rather than a premonition dream. Unbelievably, Lu still managed to get some sleep. The guy would not have woken up if it hadn't been for his cat, Mimi, who removed his bandage. His phone then suddenly rang. Lu takes it and sees his mom's text, inviting him for lunch. But something peculiar catches Lu off guard, not because of his mom's text, but because of his unraveled bandage. The phone did not transform into Yozora. Only when he says Yozora's name does the phone transform into her. And now Lu has complete control of his power. Not only could he now select whether or not to transform something, but he could also turn it back to its original form at will. Such a remarkable upgrade for his power, a great feat achieved. But no matter how improved he is now, there's nothing in this world that could save Lu from his mother's wrath if he missed lunch at their house. So off he goes then, like the wind. On his way to his mom's house, Lu stumbles upon a drunk man on the elevator. The man's reeking of alcohol is sure enough uncomfortable to be with already. But what the drunkard's going to do next is truly unexplainable. The drunk man suddenly starts kicking the elevator for being too slow. The drunkard keeps kicking the elevator and starting a ruckus about it. Lu tries to opinionate this drunk man, but to no avail. Lu's totally annoyed with the drunk man's behavior, thus he uses his power and transforms the elevator itself. Just as Lu is about to leave, he hears the drunken man's crying plea, followed by loud, consecutive thudding inside the elevator shaft. Feeling guilty, Lu transformed back into the elevator and left. The drunken man, however, will surely not repeat the ruckus he made earlier, that's for sure. Lu hails a private cab, and to his weird luck, the female driver is super hot. He jumps in the cab, goes to his destination, gets off, and expresses his gratitude to the alluring female driver. It seems normal at first until a wild Zhang Yun appears. Zhang Yun immediately throws Lu a stare with a disapproving expression. She pointed at him, then at the car, and finally at the alluring cab driver, clearly just jumping to weird conclusions. Weird conclusions grow further as Zhang Yun becomes irritated and demands an explanation. Zhang Yun demands Lu explain why he is getting out of a Benz car with an alluring driver inside, like they have a strange relationship. Upon seeing her client suddenly get stuck in a weird confrontation, the alluring female cab driver cuts in and explains on Lu's behalf to ease Zhang Yun and clear the misunderstanding. Zhang Yun now understands the situation, and the driver waved goodbye, happily driving away, envying their energetic nature. After clearing the air with weird speculations, Zhang Yun's friend, Taozi, who's been there besides her the whole time, asks who the guy is. Zhang Yun immediately tells her that Lu is a high school classmate of hers and introduces Taozi to Lu. Yet another strange twist of events occurs as a robbery happens nearby while they're casually talking. The scream startled the three, and they saw two robbers snatching a poor lady's purse in broad daylight. But strange happenings don't stop there. Out of nowhere, a speeding car appears and hits the two robbers straight on, sending them flying away. Both robbers were fatally injured, and the police got involved. Everyone on the scene starts panicking about the accident except for Lu, who noticed something weirder. Lu sees a glowing light within the car that hits the two robbers, and from afar, a mysterious man in a black hoodie with a hand glowing with the same light Lu immediately runs toward and tries to chase the mysterious hooded man. And the chase begins as Lu tries to catch up with the mysterious man. The man attempts to flee and turns into a corner. Lu continues to follow the man, but he's gone. Nothing is there but a dead end, as if the mysterious man vanishes in thin air. Lu is adamant that what he saw is real. The scene is no accident. All he wants to do is ask the mysterious man why and whether Goddess Alice sent him as well. But the chance to ask the mysterious man is gone, so Lu turns back and returns to Zhang Yun and Taozi. The robbery gone wrong scene is now flooded with more people. Lu returns to the place where a much worried Zhang Yun and Taozi await. Zhang Yun asks Lu why he'd gone off and run, but Lu dodged the question with another question instead. But this is the first for Zhang Yun to experience, and it makes her really terrified. Lu tries to reassure her by saying the police will be on their way to handle the scene. But before Lu could put Zhang Yun at ease, he saw the mysterious man again among the crowd of bystanders. Quickly, he jumps on to chase the mysterious man, leaving Zhang Yun and Taozi again. But just like the last time, the mysterious man suddenly vanished and was nowhere to be found. The police arrive and interrogate the victim and all possible witnesses, including Zhang Yun, Taozi, and Lu. Zhang Yun first tells the police what happened, and then the police turn to Lu and ask if he has anything to add. Lu tells the police that he's with them and would simply repeat the same thing if asked. The police looked disappointed and let the three go their way. Lu continued on his way to his mother's house and encountered yet another terrifying incident. But this time, it's only his mom wearing a black facial mask in the middle of the day. Later that day, after lunch at his mom's house, Lu walks his way home to his apartment. It should be one peaceful afternoon walk until suddenly, a truck is about to hit Lu straight on. Lu quickly noticed the approaching truck and saw that its driver had fallen asleep and had to act quickly. He sees a parked excavator at the side of the street and swiftly uses his power to transform the heavy machinery. The excavator transforms into a blonde, petite teen who quirkily introduces herself to Lu. But Lu excuses himself for the introduction and desperately asks the excavator princess for help. The excavator princess steps in and head-on faces the approaching truck. and just with a single hand, the excavator princess stops the truck and effortlessly shoves it onto the sidewalks. Lu is in utter astonishment as he sees how strong the blonde petite teen really is. But what the excavator princess noticed will truly astonish Lu even more. The excavator princess says that this is unlikely to be an ordinary accident. She saw traces of magic, as if someone had tried to control the truck and hit Lu. Because of this, Lu is reminded of a similar event that happened earlier that day. But before Lu could even make a complete thought of a connection between all of these, bystanders started to appear. Lu grabs the excavator princess quickly and hides. He expresses his utmost gratitude to the excavator princess for saving his life before asking her to transform back to normal. The excavator princess understands that things will get worse should she remain in human form, so she returns to normal heavy machinery. Lu sneakily fled the scene, but unaware he's been watched by a mysterious woman the entire time. Finally, Lu managed to get home safely. But things keep getting weirder for Lu, as all the lights in his house are on. Although there are no signs of forced entry or things missing, it is still very mind-boggling to Lu if he just forgot to turn it off, or if someone did turn the lights on. And to his surprise, someone or something is making noise in his bathroom. Lu nervously tries to open the bathroom door until, all of a sudden, it opens. And behind the mystery is none other than Goddess Alice. It is surprising indeed for Lu, especially when Goddess Alice comes out of his own bathroom wearing only a towel wrapped around her. Lu, still surprised by Goddess Alice's unannounced appearance and alluring physical appearance, tries to shake off both of these quickly. After he comes back to a normal mindset, Lu asks the goddess for the reason she's there. Thus, Goddess Alice announces her true intentions. First, Goddess Alice instructs Lu to restock the shower gel in his bathroom next time. A weird intro for a goddess gives Lu an awkward situation to handle. Lu changes the subject by asking if Goddess Alice doesn't feel cold as she's still only wrapped in a towel. But Goddess Alice teasingly rebuts that Lu only wanted to see her in different outfits. And the thought instantly triggers Lu's cultural ideas. Goddess Alice sees it through Lu's dirty thoughts and magically puts on stylish clothes to move on to the subject matter. But the goddess's choice of clothing makes Lu's jaw drop due to its awesome cuteness. Goddess Alice breaks the ice again until Lu remembers the important thing he's about to ask. Lu explains everything that happened that day to Goddess Alice. From the robbery, how Lu chased the mysterious guy, the moment that he's about to become a Lu sandwich. Everything, he tells it to Goddess Alice. Lu then asks if both incidents really involved magic users like him. And if that's the case, what's their motive? Goddess Alice takes a brief pause before refusing to answer Lu's question. Lu now feels more uncomfortable as the goddess doesn't want to give him any hints at all, especially the unsettling thought of are the other magic users allies or foes. If that isn't unsettling enough, Goddess Alice's reaction will be, the goddess is unconcerned with whether the three heroes work together or against one another. If the task is not completed within a year, the entire human race will perish, including Lu and the other two magic users. The goddess's words made Lu tremble in fear. Mumbling in fear, Lu asks Goddess Alice if she, as a goddess, could save the world instead. However, the goddess becomes even more terrifying after that. The goddess declares maniacally that humans must save themselves. She has no intention of interfering with or saving any of them because other humans are evil by nature or by circumstance. These words etch themselves into Lu's mind like a sharp blade, and he immediately recognized their merit. However, the goddess gives poor Lu a hint. Goddess Alice reminds Lu of the earlier robbery and then uses her power to show Lu a vision. The vision depicts a series of events in which people turn to crime after experiencing one themselves. The two men's earlier decision to rob someone after experiencing muggings by other people was the result of an endless chain of events. After showing Lu the vision, the goddess stated that the never-ending chain of crime has been broken, thanks to the accident that claimed the lives of the two robbers. In short, Goddess Alice gave three people powers to use and eliminate evildoers, akin to what happened to the two robbers earlier. Terrified, shocked, and disgusted, Lu apologizes to Goddess Alice. He cannot commit such heinous acts. Lu cannot simply judge those evildoers and claim their lives just because society views them as filth. Lu is a regular citizen who believes in the rule of law and due process. However, the goddess duped Lu by saying she would give him the authority to do so as a goddess's servant. Lu rejects the goddess in front of him and demands that she return the power she granted him at that moment. But every conviction, dedication, and sense of justice that Lu expressed is for nothing. This is simply a test concocted by Goddess Alice herself to see if Lu is worthy or not. However, not everything goes down the drain, as Lu is now promoted to a higher rank. But whether the promotion is really beneficial for him or not is still yet to be determined. Being all's well, Lu then takes the chance to ask the goddess about the true nature of the power bestowed on him. But the very reliable Goddess Alice is also not sure about Lu's power. She says that the Chosen Three only received a tiny fraction of her power, so she doesn't know what abilities it gave those chosen ones. Such a vague explanation for a powerful goddess. But Goddess Alice suddenly points to the door and asks who's the sudden visitor. Not only did the goddess instantly know the gender of the visitor, but Goddess Alice also knew there was someone at the door even before knocking. Lu goes to check and sees Zhang Yun through the door's peephole. Greatly surprised by Zhang Yun's unexpected visitation, Lu grows frantic, especially since the goddess is still there. Lu tries to buy some time by telling Zhang Yun to wait for a bit because he's still putting on his pants. He then subliminally signals the goddess to hide or disappear, but Goddess Alice pays no mind if someone sees her. Left with no choice, Lu opens the door for Zhang Yun before she jumps to conclusions like she always does. And right after entering Lu's house, Zhang Yun sees an unfamiliar face of a woman with very seductive physical features inside. Didn't Lu just mention he's putting his pants back? Here goes another episode of Zhang Yun's jumping to the wildest conclusions. Well, there's a seductive-looking lady inside, and Lu mentioned putting back his pants. So what do you expect, Lu? And what kind of card is Lu going to use this time? It's my cousin card. Zhang Yun totally believes that Goddess Alice is simply a cousin of Lu. Lu's off the hook again. But Zhang Yun is now bothered by how big the Goddess Alice is compared to her. The difference is huge, but Zhang Yun won't give up without a fight and introduces herself while squeezing her pears in front of the goddess, trying to make it appear bigger. Goddess Alice introduces herself as Xiao Ai while portraying Lu's cousin. The cat Mimi approaches them and interrupts their chat. With Zhang Yun's petting the cat, Xiao Ai, on the other hand, suddenly pulls Mimi's tail with intense force. Mimi throws a scratch as a counterattack. Zhang Yun and Lu are shocked, while Xiao Ai is filled with flaming rage. Lu terrifyingly tries to reason it out with Xiao Ai, saying that the cat only scratched her as a natural reaction, but Zhang Yun differs. Instead of worrying about who did right or wrong, Zhang Yun's immediate concern is to treat Xiao Ai's scratch wound. But Lu doesn't have a first aid kit available at his house, so he goes outside and buys them immediately. Since Lu's still not around, Zhang Yun takes the chance to have a girl talk with Xiao Ai. Zhang Yun proudly told Xiao Ai about her unforgettable moments with Lu. Everything is pleasantly good until Xiao Ai decides to tease Zhang Yun for having a crush on Lu. Zhang Yun blushes red, thinking of ways to handle such a delicate situation. Xiao Ai instantly notices how red Zhang Yun's face has become and asks her if she feels fine. But Lu's arrival interrupted their moment. Lu asks casually about their conversation topic, as Zhang Yun appears to be very happy. Zhang Yun panics, claiming it's only regular girl talk. Then Xiao Ai teases the moment by saying Zhang Yun has a crush on Lu aloud. But Zhang Yun herself interrupts her. Zhang Yun then tries to change the subject and refers to tending to Xiao Ai's wound instead. After getting Xiao Ai first aid, Lu asks Zhang Yun about her reason for visiting. The ambience becomes serious as Zhang Yun explains how she got a weird call from a policeman regarding a robbery incident. Zhang Yun receives a call from a so-called policeman asking strange questions like what's Lu's involvement in the incident. She keeps telling the policeman they're all but bystanders at the time of the incident, but the policeman keeps insisting that Lu's may be involved somehow. Lu finds it very strange how a certain policeman is eager to connect him to that incident. Zhang Yun tells Lu to be very careful from this point forward. On the other hand, Xiao Ai is just listening carefully, but it is clear that she finds this strange as well. It's becoming late in the evening, and Zhang Yun decides to go home. Zhang Yun sends her regards to Lu and Xiao Ai before leaving. A few moments before Zhang Yun entirely leaves, Lu calls her name and thanks her. Zhang Yun blushes red again, then waves goodbye. Lu goes inside the house, and a very anxious Goddess Alice warns him. Goddess Alice couldn't sense it clearly, but she knew definitely that the call Zhang Yun received only spelled danger for Lu. Lu receives a warning from the goddess, telling him that he should exercise great awareness and extra care from this point onward. Goddess Alice also points out that Lu has already met the policeman more than once, but Lu couldn't remember anything about meeting the policeman anywhere else aside from the robbery incident. Unsurprised by Lu's goldfish memory, the goddess simply tells Lu to be extra careful at all times instead. What's surprising, though, is that Goddess Alice will stay indefinitely at Lu's house, that night included. Without any hesitation, the goddess goes to Lu's bed and rests. Since Lu couldn't do anything to stop the goddess, he just let her do whatever she pleased. Instead, Lu decides to grab a bite and then goes to sleep. Morning comes, and BG the blanket is demanding a hug from Lu for ignoring her lately. But as BG desperately cuddles her master, Lamey, the fountain pen, suddenly appears as well. Loiny asks for the same thing, a cuddle with Lu. To think the craziness stops from there, Gray the underwear also joins the scene and demands the same cuddle the other two demands. Pitiful, or more likely lucky, Lu is stuck in between the three girls fighting to get his exclusive attention. But it finally appears that it is indeed a pitiful moment for Lu, as he's only dreaming. Upon realizing that the dream's now over, Lu is greeted by Goddess Alice herself. The goddess standing before him declares that today, Lu will undergo training to improve his superpower. Surprised and a little bit terrified, Lu asks the goddess what kind of training awaits him. But Goddess Alice gives no clue and says to see for himself later. Lu and the goddess share a hearty breakfast first, and Lu takes this opportunity to ask the Goddess Alice for a favor. He wants the Goddess Alice to keep the guise of Xiaoai, Lu's cousin, whenever they're in front of other people. Since it's no big deal to the goddess, she agrees instantly. The thought of having the Goddess Alice as a cousin, even just in disguise, makes Lu feel happy, and he wonders what it's like to have a younger relative. Suddenly, Lu is reminded of an old memory of a female child. Goddess Alice notices that Lu suddenly froze, lost in thought. She asks Lu what's up, and Lu tells him of a memory when he was 8 years old. Lu used to have a younger sister, but she died not long after birth. He cannot remember what caused his younger sister's death, but he definitely remembers having a sibling. What's even weirder is that Lu's parents can't remember how his sister died as well. Goddess Alice also grows curious and uses her power to see and check the world's records. Lu is greatly amazed by the goddess's great power to browse through the world's memory at will. But as great as the goddess's power may be, she herself couldn't find any traces of Lu having a sister. Lu is surprised that even the Goddess Alice is having trouble finding out the truth about his past. The goddess assures Lu that she will investigate this matter for him, but that also means Lu's debt is greatly increasing. What kind of payment does she want from him? Lu will need greater power to access such an answer to that question. Today's the first day of Lu's superpower training, and guess where it will be? The training ground is none other than a glass-bottom bridge that can surely murder anyone who falls or anyone with a great fear of heights. Such a perfect place to be for Lu, who has a phobia of great heights. As Lu tries to stabilize himself, he hears someone scream nearby. A female lady is screaming not because of the terrifying see-through bottom view of the bridge, but because of a pervert. The lady's boyfriend instantly comes to her aid and confronts the molester, but the perpetrator denies the couple's allegations. Adamantly enough, the lady profusely confirms that the man harassed her by touching her behind. This time, instead of denying, the man maniacally claims that the lady is delusional and might have rather enjoyed what happened. Annoyed and insulted, the boyfriend throws a punch, only to be grabbed by the pervert. The perpetrator hits the boyfriend's abdomen with his knee and continues to stomp the guy consecutively without mercy. Lu had enough of the pervert and decided to step in and meddle. Since Lu isn't a strong guy, he gets slapped hard by the pervert and pushed away. As Lu hits the safety railing of the bridge, Lu's smartphone falls out of his pocket, hits the glass floor, and bounces off, falling all the way down the great height. Lu is filled with anger, sadness, and pain because Yozuru's smartphone is forever gone. He quickly grabs the pervert by the collar, and instead of apologizing, the pervert disrespects Lu by trying to bribe Lu with money. Lu's anger completely enrages him, as he expresses that no amount could suffice for what's done. But the molester just shoves Lu off and taunts him for being too sentimental over just a phone. Until something really bad happens that day, Lu suddenly becomes very different. His aura is one of ominous, dark, and murderous intent. While the pervert is still taunting and disrespecting him, Lu mindlessly retaliates and grabs the pervert by the neck, choking him. Lu then lifts the pervert up with one hand and casually throws him off the bridge. After a deafening scream from the pervert falling to his death, Lu only stands there, laughing evilly. Everyone panics and screams as they just witnessed a murder happen in front of them. To control the whole situation, the Goddess Alice freezes the time and slaps Lu really hard in the face. Lu snaps back to normal and asks what just happened. Goddess Alice tells him about what happened, including how he murdered someone just now. Astonished and devastated, Lu is worried about the outcome of his heinous act. Goddess Alice butts in and reminds Lu that he's with the goddess in case he had forgotten. She asks Lu how he wants her to resolve the situation, to which Lu replies that he wants to turn back time. But with great power comes greater consequences, consequences that Lu will need to pay. If Goddess Alice is to reverse the Earth's time even for just 3 minutes, the price can be Lu's life. Yet Lu is highly determined. Even if he pays with his life just to bring back Yozora, he's ready. Convinced by Lu's conviction, the goddess fulfills his wish and turns back time 3 minutes earlier. Lu's now back at the moment where the victim's boyfriend confronts the pervert. He quickly checks his pocket, and Lu immediately smiles after seeing his phone again. Lu also notices that Goddess Alice seems unwary and greatly exhausted. He asks the goddess if she's okay, but Goddess Alice orders Lu to handle the situation quickly so they can leave. Lu wasted no time and settled the score with the pervert the right way. He kicks the molester in the back and calls security right after. The guards take the pervert away, and Lu leaves with Goddess Alice. Now the goddess looks way more tired and weak than earlier. She asks Lu to take her somewhere private to rest, and Lu checks in at a hotel nearby. Lu is very worried about Goddess Alice as she lays down in bed, weak and vulnerable. But instead of resting, the Goddess Alice tells Lu about her discovery on the scene earlier. Someone among the crowd of people controlled Lu to murder the pervert, but after she reversed the time, the mysterious magic user wasn't in the crowd and didn't appear anymore. This mysterious person amplifies all of Lu's negative emotions, triggering him to go berserk and murder someone. Shocked, Lu asks the goddess more questions, but she replies only as a reminder of what they're there for in the first place. And Goddess Alice will now begin to assess Lu as part of his training. First, Goddess Alice asks Lu about all the emotions he felt after his phone fell off the bridge. He tells her all the negative emotions that surged into his mind during that time. Goddess Alice quickly realizes that Lu somehow developed genuine feelings toward his phone, Yozora. Lu wholeheartedly admitted that indeed, he developed feelings for Yozora, his phone, and the rest that he transformed. He added that he feels a strong sense of companionship towards all of them. The goddess then again asks Lu why he thinks his power is to transform inanimate objects, and that very question sparks a sad realization in him. From his childhood all the way to the present, Lu deeply yearns for companionship. Lu remembers always being alone in his childhood, as both of his parents were always busy at work. He craves attention, care, love, and again, companionship. These unattainable feelings developed into the loneliness that makes living alone feasible and normal up to the present time. Goddess Alice tells Lu that his subconscious desires are the ones awakened after receiving a fragment of her power. Thus, the desire gives him the power to transform inanimate objects into living beings to accompany him. But Lu can't help but wonder why he can only transform things into females. The answer strikes Lu as guilty, as the goddess points out how obsessed he is with collecting waifu figurines. As time passes, the goddess grows weaker, and Lu can't help but be more worried. No earthly medicine or doctor can heal a goddess, so there's nothing for Lu to do to help her. Instead, the goddess Alice returns to her astral realm and asks Lu to wait for her. Lu takes a shower while waiting until a loud noise interrupts his bath time. Covered only with a towel, Lu quickly rushes to the bedroom and sees Goddess Alice unconscious and covered with wounds. Greatly worried, Lu tries to wake the goddess up. The goddess regains her consciousness, and Lu asks what happened to her. Goddess Alice tells Lu that she got all of her wounds from a one-sided bout, which she lost. Someone in the astral realm attacked the goddess Alice for poking around too much. Not only does a goddess get severely beaten, but what makes Lu wonder more is what the goddess meant by being too careless in handing over superpowers to humans. But Lu didn't bother to ask for more questions, as he was more concerned about the goddess Alice's well-being. Yet no earthly medicine or doctor will be able to heal a goddess like Alice. Seeing Lu desperately wanting to help her, Goddess Alice asks him one last time if Lu is prepared to help her. Without second thoughts, Lu follows each and every instruction the goddess tells him to do just to heal her. In a surprising turn of events, Goddess Alice kisses Lu intimately, and Lu isn't ready for the unexpected. But the kiss wasn't there to enjoy himself, but to take his energy. Lu falls to his knees, and he sees a bright glow emit from the goddess's body. All of the goddess's wounds magically disappeared, and she also recovered her strength. On the other hand, Lu falls unconsciously, and is mysteriously teleported into a dreamlike state. Lu hears the voice of a woman questioning his presence. To his utmost surprise, the voice came from a gravely wounded goddess, Alice. With a glowing spear pierced in her chest, the goddess asks Lu if he will be sad as she dies. Puzzled by the goddess's question, Lu asks what she means by that. The goddess repeats her question once again, and this time she demands Lu answer her straight and honestly. Lu answers her question with every drop of feeling he has and then asks her why she became gravely wounded. The goddess explains that, due to her carelessness, one of the magic users obtained the power to become a god and disrespected her authority as a goddess. Her explanations then become her final words as Goddess Alice perishes and disappears. Lu wakes up, shouting Goddess Alice's name. He realizes that he is only dreaming and Goddess Alice is sleeping soundly beside him. Feeling relieved, Lu now decides to relieve his physical body as well. But after he goes out of the comfort room, Goddess Alice greets him and asks where he's been. Lu is glad to see Goddess Alice feeling better, and he offers him food to eat. The goddess only wants something cold to drink, but unfortunately, the hotel doesn't provide any. So Lu decides to go outside and buy them food and drinks. He tells Goddess Alice to wait for him, to which she surprisingly replies obediently. As he walks through the busy street, Lu's really bothered about his dream being too realistic and vivid. Was it a premonition? A warning of a great danger is about to happen? Then the aroma of the nearby food distracted Lu, and he promptly forgot the entire thing. 2 days later, Lu remembers his conversation yesterday with Goddess Alice about seeing her death in his dreams. During that conversation, the goddess completely shrugs off the idea of her being slain as she is a divine entity, the one who cannot be justly destroyed. Still, of course, it worries Lu a lot, especially with a dream so vivid and real. But seeing Goddess Alice fine and well, he thought it would be best to be happy for now. As he continues his day, Lu is reminded of another happening in his life, the day when he almost lost Yozora forever. To combat the sadness he felt that day, he now summons Yozora. As soon as she transforms, Yozora lunges at Lu with utter joy, greatly expressing how much she misses him. Lu feels the same way as well, and he carries Yozora in his arms. As they reminisce and cherish the moment, a hungry goddess interrupts their romantic scene. Goddess Alice mischievously teases the couple before ordering Lu to cook for them. Lu quickly obeys the goddess's request and serves them a hearty meal. He then asks the goddess about their plans for the training today, to which she replies that there's none for that day. Surprised by the goddess's reaction, Lu stood there and asked. Apparently, Goddess Alice always wanted to enjoy more of human culture. It seems logical at first, but Lu will be more astonished by what the goddess is about to say next. Despite being a divinity, Goddess Alice is nothing but an ordinary lady deep inside. The goddess wants to go shopping, and Lu does nothing but stand there in silence with his petty thoughts about it. And off they go to have a stroll in the town's marketplace, the same place where Yozora and Lu spent their first date. Yozora quickly remembers the moments they once shared in that very place, nostalgic, sweet memories that bring much delight to Lu's feelings and make him fall for Yozora even more. His cherished memories with Yozora on their first date make him freeze in his thoughts. Yozora adorably asks Lu what's bothering him, only for Lu to fall even more due to Yozora's sweetness and cuteness. On the other hand, Goddess Alice, or Xiaoai rather, is bothered about what food to eat first. But what bothers her the most is who's going to pay for their meals today. Proudly, Lu announces that he will cover everything for today. However, Lu secretly asks Xiaoai not to go overboard and spend all of his monthly allowance in one go. But the goddess has a kind heart, and she proves easy to reason with. The three find themselves in front of a grilling stand. Xiaoai meticulously inspects each type of skewer first and tells Lu and Yozora to go ahead and pick for themselves. As the three browse the variety of skewers, Yozora becomes afraid of the barbecue being grilled over the coal. The sizzling and crackling of the fiery charcoal makes Yozora adorably scared. Lu assures Yozora that he is there to protect her no matter what until suddenly, Xiaoai is missing. After finally finding Xiaoai, the three decide to take a seat and rest for a while. Lu can't help but scold Xiaoai for running around without notifying them. But Xiaoai is not a child and she's also a goddess. Massive good luck to those who will try to do bad things to her. While Lu is busy scolding Xiaoai, Yozora requests the food they ate on their first date. And immediately, Lu shifts gears and begins feeling lovey-dovey once again toward Yozora. Xiaoai, on the other hand, is clearly jealous of the chemistry Lu and Yozora share. The three now head for the stuffed crepe stand as per Yozora's request. As soon as the stuffed crepe is served, Yozora digs in, and extreme joy fills her body and soul. Xiaowai became curious and wanted to try for herself as well, only with one difference: she wanted bananas to be mixed with it. The cook accepts her extraordinary request as a challenge and professionally cooks the dish with such grace and masterful performance. And voila! Xiaowai's stuffed crepe with bananas is served. With just a single bite from the crepe, Xiaowai's delight is uncontainable, so much so that it makes both of her eyes sparkle with joy. As things progress happily for Lu, Yozora, and Xiaowai, one sudden commotion disturbs their once peaceful day. Just nearby from where they are, a female vendor is being harassed by 3 hooligans. The hooligans are so stubborn and annoying that they still insist on harassing the female vendor, despite her repeated refusal. Xiaowai signals Lu to help the lady in distress, and he happily obliges. Lu sneaks in quietly and transforms a nearby trash bin to thrash those hooligans. A small, thin girl with pigtails appears after the flash of blinding light distracts the hooligans. The hooligans just laugh at the girl due to her small frame and cute appearance. One of them even taunts the little girl. But despite her tiny frame, the trash bin princess ain't fragile. In fact, this girl hits like a truck. The trash bin princess gives one of the hooligans a taste of her strength and breaks one of his fingers. The other 2 hooligans simultaneously attack the trash bin princess, and with just a single strike, they both simultaneously fall as well. But the trash bin princess ain't done with them yet. She channels her power and gathers all the trash nearby, forming a cyclone of trash. The 3 hooligans got caught in the powerful storm of trash. All the trash is now dumped in one place, including those 3 unconscious hooligans. The whole crowd in the area applauds and cheers for the trash bin girl for her unbelievable display of strength and courage. The female vendor thanked the trash bin princess as well for saving her from the hooligans. With a swarm of people surrounding the trash bin princess, it is now impossible for Lu to transform her back without anyone noticing. Lu asks Xiaowai for help, but she immediately refuses. He then asks Yozora, and the girl happily offers her help. Yozora goes through the crowd and pretends to be the trash bin princess's sibling. Confused at first, but the trash bin princess comes along with Yozora after naming her Xiao Tong. Just like that, Yozora manages to flee from the scene with Xiao Tong. Lu hides Xiao Tong in a discreet area and commands her to transform back to normal. And for the first time ever, one of Lu's transformations refused to do so, and Xiao Tong quickly fled away from Lu. Lu tries to stop Xiao Tong, but she keeps running away from Lu. He starts chasing the runaway princess, but she's already lost in the sea of people. Desperately, Lu worms his way into the crowd, hoping to find Xiao Tong. Lu searches every here and every there until he bumps shoulders with a mysterious girl. This mysterious girl is the same one who watches our protagonist, Lu, from the shadows when Lu is about to get hit by a truck. He is just not aware that it was her. What's even more interesting is that Lu and the mysterious girl know each other. The mysterious girl greets Lu, and Lu greets her as well. But the mysterious girl has something urgent and sends her regards to Lu, then leaves. Quickly after, Xiaowai appears behind Lu's back and catches Lu by great surprise. Xiaowai asks Lu if he finally catches up with Xiao Tong. But Lu's incompetent abilities led to Xiao Tong's total escape. After expressing her disappointment, Xiaowai has no choice but to spoon-feed Lu with a hint. She tells Lu about one of his upgraded abilities that will help locate any of his summoned girls. So Lu tries this magical GPS, and his power shows a magic trail pointing to Xiao Tong's whereabouts. He follows the magic trail and catches Xiao Tong. Xiao Tong still tries to escape by making a commotion about being harassed by Lu, but Lu dismisses the trick and announces that Xiao Tong is his very stubborn cousin who refuses to go home. With a wall on her back, Xiao Tong had no choice but to follow Lu's instructions and return to normal. Yet still, she still bargains with Lu, not wanting to go back to being a trash bin anymore. Lu tried to make Xiao Tong understand that her thoughts were simply impossible to fulfill. And with Xiao Tong's one final push, she finally catches Lu off guard by asking him to adopt her instead. Dumbfounded by Xiao Tong's request, Lu tries his best to reason it out with her. But the trash bin princess keeps on insisting that she is now Lu's responsibility to take. Lu tries to point out that her normal size as a trash bin won't fit anywhere inside his house. Yet Xiao Tong takes it as discrimination for being just a trash bin. She tries to be cute like an innocent child to bait Lu into adopting her. But Lu profoundly refuses. Annoyed and feeling betrayed, Xiao Tong tells Lu the sad reality of her life as a trash can. how neglected she was, and how abusive humans are to her as a trash bin. She spent her entire life in a filthy and gross environment without anyone consistently trying to maintain their good condition as a trash bin. Lu realized that everything Xiao Tong said about humans was true. He can't help but feel sorry for the girl. But Xiao Tong doesn't accept any apology and points out how Lu took advantage of her earlier. The fact that Lu used Xiao Tong to teach those hooligans a lesson but then plans to dump her afterward is simply unacceptable to her. For Xiao Tong, Lu is just another scum in society. Lu feels extremely guilty, as it is a fairly solid point Xiao Tong made. He tries to come up with an idea where it's a win-win situation for all of them. After a short while, Lu comes up with a solution. With a creepy smile comparable to that of a typical pervert, Lu asks Xiao Tong to come with him to a better place. The idea Lu is bragging about is taking Xiao Tong to a health spa. Lu thinks that Xiao Tong would want a nice long bath to clean herself. As weird as it goes, Lu insists that Xiao Tong can wash herself to her heart's content, and Lu covers all the expenses. Curious about what a good, proper bath feels like, Xiao Tong agrees with Lu's idea. Lu rented 2 rooms, one for him and one for Xiao Tong and the goddess Alice. While Lu is checking in, Xiao Tong is greatly amazed at how sparkling clean and shiny the whole lobby is. Before she attracts more attention, Lu calls her in and goes straight to their rooms. Lu then asks Goddess Alice for a favor by accompanying Xiao Tong, as it will be inappropriate for him to take Xiao Tong to the men's area. But the goddess replies that Xiao Tong may pass as a boy because she is flat. After a short visualization of Xiao Tong's figure, Lu quickly denounces the idea because Xiao Tong is a female no matter what. The goddess eventually agrees as a form of thanks for Lu's treat earlier. Before leaving, Lu carefully instructs Xiao Tong to listen to everything Goddess Alice says. He greatly emphasizes that she should not cause any more trouble the way she did earlier at the marketplace. Lu keeps telling Xiao Tong, even on their way to the bath area. Xiao Tong finally had enough. She tells Lu that he is too naggy for his own good. The tiny girl also added her giant opinion, that Lu is too naggy. It's no surprise that he's still single. Xiao Tong's well-opinionated statement stomps Lu's entire existence at that very moment. Even if Lu claims that he got Yozora as his girlfriend, there's no hiding that Xiao Tong's words destroyed something deep inside him. Lu enters the bath area and immediately feels relaxed by the soothing feel of the water. But his reprieve is fleeting. The mere thought of seeing a group of men all older than him makes him uncomfortable. To calm himself, Lu imagines himself with only women around him. For a man of culture like Lu, this is just normal wishful thinking. Meanwhile, Xiao Tong appears to be a kid who is in awe of everything she sees in the women's bath. She tries to play with the goddess Alice, but she is too composed and well-behaved to care. Xiao Tong, bored and looking for something to do, looks around until she notices a strange-looking pool of water. The color of the pool water captivates the inquisitive Xiao Tong. She tries to drink some of it and immediately regrets it. Everything there is for bathing, not drinking, according to the goddess. So with a single hand, the goddess effortlessly throws Xiao Tong into the water. Returning to Lu, his sauna experience isn't helping him either. The entire room is filled with steam and the strong, manly odor of the other men in the sauna. To feel more at ease, Lu lets out his inner cultural man and imagines that everyone inside is all women. Lu drools at the thought of being around half-naked women. Other male patrons regard Lu as a nutcase, with drool literally streaming down his face. The sauna experience of Goddess Alice and Xiao Tong is not without strangeness. First, the 2 ladies enter the sauna room, and neither of them understands what a sauna is. Goddess Alice patiently awaits its effect, while Xiao Tong is bored because the sauna appears to be worthless. Then 2 random women enter the sauna. The 2 ladies try to strike up a conversation with Xiao Tong and Goddess Alice. Xiao Tong's ignorance and Goddess Alice's mixed bliss provide the 2 other women with the strangest sauna experience of their lives. That's what happens when you try to communicate normally with 2 not-so-normal beings, a goddess and a trash bin. After a brief awkward silence inside the women's sauna, the heat starts to make Xiao Tong uncomfortable, but the goddess insists that they still have 20 minutes to spend inside to get the promised effect of the sauna. Xiao Tong starts to grow bored inside the sauna until her attention points to the goddess's well-developed figure. Upon realizing the superiority of the goddess in terms of size, Xiao Tong comes up with a weird idea. Xiao Tong stands up and grabs the towel from Goddess Alice. The mischievous little girl thinks it's a good idea to mess with the goddess. Xiao Tong continues to taunt the goddess and demands to apologize to her. But Goddess Alice casually stands up naked and tells Xiao Tong to say her prayers. Xiao Tong quickly fled the room along with the goddess's towel. On the other hand, Lu had just finished with his bath when suddenly he hears a loud ruckus in the woman's bath. The cause of the commotion is none other than Xiao Tong, who's running for her life, and Goddess Alice, who's chasing the little brat while naked. The goddess throws everything she can get her hands on at Xiao Tong. With the goddess relentlessly chasing her for blood, Xiao Tong surrenders and throws back the goddess's towel. The goddess puts back her towel gracefully, as if nothing ever happened, and now it's time for Xiao Tong's punishment. Well, she asked for it, didn't she? Lord Alice and Xiao Tong were in the midst of a heated disagreement. Lord Alice, frustrated by Xiao Tong's indecisiveness, emphasized the complexities of their societal hierarchy. She believed Xiao Tong lacked an understanding of the situation's nuances. To drive her point home, Lord Alice casually flicked her finger, and time froze. People around them halted, motionless like statues, except for Xiao Tong and Lord Alice. Meanwhile, Shenzi entered the bathhouse, asking someone available to rub his back. His uncle was there, willing to do it for him, but then he turned blue and became motionless, and so did everyone around him. Shenzi tried to touch his uncle, waiting for him to start, but he fell down, still smiling. Shenzi was confused and unsure of what happened. Panic started to kick in as he tried to think of how this could possibly happen. Going back to the girls, Xiao Tong was intimidated by this display of power and begged for mercy. Lord Alice forgave her, and they began exploring alternative options to end their argument. Lord Alice then reversed the effects, and time resumed its natural flow. On the other hand, Shenzi finally grasped the situation and realized that it must be Lord Alice who had controlled time. He suspected she had encountered other superpowered individuals, prompting her actions. As the old man stirred, he offered Shenzi a back rub. Despite the initial decline, Shenzi found himself persuaded by the persistent uncle. Before he knew it, he was dragged into the massage, unable to resist the old man's enthusiastic expertise. Our main character's afternoon was one for the books. The elderly man's vigorous back rub at the bathhouse left him traumatized and hesitant to return. To make matters worse, Xiao Tong reappeared at his residence despite his explicit declaration that his house wasn't a garbage bin. Lord Alice intervened, offering Xiao Tong a second chance, provided she pledged obedience and agreed to a future favor. Xiao Tong eagerly accepted, desperate to redeem herself. So, Lord Alice transformed Xiao Tong into a compact bin, perfectly sized for the house, solving a space issue. With the bin situation resolved, Lord Alice's stomach began growling, craving spicy food. Intrigued by human cuisine, she suggested ordering takeout. Shenzi obliged, considering barbecue, even though they had that previously. They settled on hot and sour noodles, with Lord Alice preferring hers as medium spicy. As they waited for their meal, the mischievous kitty began playing with the bin, but it later fell. Shenzi thought the cat was just being naughty, but that's not the case. Lord Alice reversed Xiao Tong's transformation, restoring her human form. Xiao Tong's jealousy flared, eager to join the meal. Xiao Tong was being really stubborn. She acted like a victim, making it seem as if she had been deprived of meals. It was almost exaggerated how she talked about eating food left behind by others like she was in a trash bin. Eventually, the Shenzi couldn't take it anymore and agreed to let her eat. Xiao Tong's greed is evident when she asks for an enormous portion of food, almost like a black hole, instead of a typical bin. After a few minutes of waiting, their food finally arrived. It looked like the delivery man had struggled to carry all of it. Lord Alice received her meal, which was what you would expect from an average human, but Xiao Tong's order was something beyond what anyone could imagine. When they started eating, Xiao Tong attacked her food with such enthusiasm that Shenzi worried she might choke. But really, she was crying tears of joy because the food was so delicious. It was her first real meal that she had ordered herself, and she hadn't tasted anything this nice in a long time. Before this, her meals were mostly just bamboo skewers, empty bottles, plastic containers, and leftover scraps. It almost made sense for someone like her to eat that way since she often referred to herself as a trash bin. However, Xiao Tong would get really upset whenever Shenzi brought this up, so he chose to stay supportive instead. She expressed her gratitude to Shenzi, who was responsible for introducing her to such good food. Shenzi assured her that from now on, she would get to enjoy nice meals frequently. After finishing their food, Xiao Tong looked like she might burst from her full stomach. But surprisingly, she was still thinking about eating more. it didn't seem like she was satisfied, as her stomach was notably big and she digested food easily. The meal ended up costing Shenzi a lot of money, around 2 days' worth of his food allowance. Shenzi tried to explain to Xiao Tong that they wouldn't be dining out every day and that she would have to wait for future meals. But because Xiao Tong was so demanding, she insisted she wanted to eat out daily. This created a real challenge for Shenzi's wallet. Early in the morning, Shenzi woke up feeling something heady pressing against him. To his shock, it turned out to be Lord Alice's bosoms. He was flustered and confused, wondering how she ended up in his bed. While it was completely unexpected, he couldn't deny that the sensation felt oddly nice. But then he reminded himself that he was already involved with Yozora, and he needed to keep his thoughts in check. As he got up and looked around, he noticed the trash bin overflowing with garbage. It was a complete mess, a result of the fun they had the previous night. After buying snacks and alcohol for everyone, it seemed like a wild night had unfolded. Under the influence of drinks, Lord Alice had insisted on declaring herself the master, while he humorously became her loyal dog. Meanwhile, Xiao Tong had decided to take off, believing it was her time to explore the world freely. In a bid to convince her to stay, Shenzi had warned her that if she left, she would eventually transform, which stopped her in her tracks. In the midst of this chaos, Lord Alice was crying, expressing how difficult it was to be a goddess and putting the blame on humans for her troubles. This strange situation taught Shenzi a lesson about the dangers of letting the two of them drink too much. Knowing that they were still asleep and dealing with the aftermath of the previous night, he decided to head out for some breakfast. After picking up some food, he returned to the room to wake them up. However, as he was trying to rouse Lord Alice, she turned around and trapped his hand with her milkers. Alarmed, he immediately pulled back, realizing the awkwardness of the moment. Eventually, she stirred awake but complained of a throbbing headache, a sign that she was suffering from a hangover. Quickly, Shenzi suggested getting her some water to help alleviate her headache. As Lord Alice essentially drank the water, Shenzi found himself captivated, his gaze inadvertently fixated on her milkers. In an effort to redirect the situation, he tried to change the subject by mentioning the breakfast waiting on the table. However, just as he thought things might settle down, there was a knock on the door. To his dismay, it was his mom. She instantly sensed that something was off. The smell of alcohol lingered in the air, and she grew suspicious of what her son might be hiding. Just to add to her doubts, Lord Alice appeared beside him, looking disheveled and still recovering from her hangover. Shenzi's heart raced as he scrambled to think of a way to explain the odd scene. His mom stood there, hands on her hips, an eyebrow raised in questioning. Who is she? Shenzi was surprised to see Lord Alice standing next to him, and it was because of that they were exposed to a big misunderstanding. Is there anything wrong with me standing here? Lord Alice asked. Shenzi immediately said that there was no problem with it, scared to anger this goddess. On the other hand, his mom was still in front of them, watching the two with angry eyes as she pointed out that she had questions that demanded answers. Shenzi was getting so worried about how his mother looked that he forgot what questions she was asking. With that, his mother bombarded him with questions and didn't even wait for him to answer them one by one. She thought he and Yozora had already broken up, seeing that there was another girl with him. Shenzi disagrees that he and Yozora broke up, not wanting to jinx it. And if that's the case, then this guy must be two-timing, his mother thought. His mom later turned around to look at Lord Alice, but just like Shenzi, she was also captivated by how great the goddess's body was. Her mood even lightened up for a bit, and she agreed that his son's taste was quite diverse. His mom was worried about Shenzi's whereabouts and whether he was in a relationship with Lord Alice. MC is more scared that Lord Alice might get angry, so Shenzi explains that what his mother thinks is not what it is. Shenzi explained that he and Lord Alice were not in a romantic relationship, but his mom was skeptical. Shenzi's mom asked him what their real relationship was, and Lord Alice replied calmly that they were cousins. However, this seemed suspicious to Shenzi's mom, and she couldn't understand why Shenzi wouldn't tell her about a cousin she had never met before. To solve this problem, Lord Alice uses her superpowers to manipulate Shenzi's mom's mind into thinking that Lord Alice is actually Shenzi's cousin. Although this seemed like a crazy thing to do, it actually worked, and Shenzi's mom started to warm up to Lord Alice. The two of them started chatting and discussing everyday things, like a new trash bin that Shenzi had bought. Shenzi's mom asked him when he had bought it, and Shenzi said that it was actually Lord Alice's choice. Shenzi's mom was confused again, but Lord Alice explained that she had been feeling a little overwhelmed by the new environment and had asked Shenzi to buy her a trash bin. Shenzi's mom then started talking about shopping. She knew that the city wasn't as big as some other cities, but there were still some great places to buy things. Lord Alice replied that she had already gone shopping with Shenzi and had found some great deals. Shenzi's mom was still a bit skeptical, but she was starting to get along with Lord Alice. However, things took a turn for the worse when Shenzi's mom found out that Shenzi had taken Lord Alice to a pedestrian zone that was known for its unhygienic food. She was furious that Shenzi had been so careless and had put Lord Alice in danger. Shenzi tried to explain that it was just a normal place for teenagers to hang out, but his mom was not having it. She pinched Shenzi in the ear as a punishment, and he winced in pain. The situation was a bit awkward, but Lord Alice seemed to be handling it well. She was chatting with Shenzi's mom and trying to make small talk despite the tension in the air. It was already decided that they would go shopping, and during the trip, Shenzi's mother seemed to dote on Lord Alice as if she were her own daughter. In fact, Shenzi's mom was busy taking pictures of Lord Alice while neglecting her own son. They even visited a temple to pay their respects, and once again, Shenzi was left out of the photos. After a busy day of walking from place to place, they stopped by a traditional restaurant where they ate traditional cuisine. Shenzi's mom was so head over heels for Lord Alice that she was feeding her food that was once liked by the emperor. It was called carrot meeting. Lord Alice liked the food that was served and enjoyed her meal. Who wouldn't when you have a nice mother to feed you a bunch of different meals on your plate? As all this unfolded, Shenzi couldn't believe how his mom was sidelining him despite being her son. Shenzi noticed that Lord Alice was enjoying the delicious food, prompting his mom to offer her more. However, she soon realized that Shenzi wasn't eating at all. It wasn't that the food didn't appeal to him. He was simply not in the mood to eat. But his mom immediately jumped to the conclusion that Shenzi was waiting for someone to feed him as if he couldn't manage on his own. Moreover, Shenzi's mom was quick to offer to pay for all of Lord Alice's expenses because they were family. She even suggested that she could just ask Shenzi to do chores or favors for Lord Alice as if he were a butler instead of a son. Shenzi was taken aback and strongly disagreed with that idea. He didn't want to be ordered around, especially when he felt he was already helping Lord Alice quite a bit without being told. Despite all of this, Lord Alice was content with how things were going. She appreciated the favors Shenzi was already doing for her and didn't see the need for any more demands on him. Shenzi's mom thought it was a good thing for cousins to be polite and supportive of one another. After they enjoyed their meal, Shenzi's mother got a phone call. Hearing that there was an emergency, she quickly said goodbye, wishing both Shenzi and Lord Alice well. Before leaving, she affectionately patted Lord Alice's head while intimidating her biological son to take care of his cousin. Anyway, the way his mother patted Alice's head felt strange to Lord Alice. Shenzi was scared that the goddess might have seen it as offensive behavior. Lord Alice shared that touching the head is a form of affection from the older people to the young ones, something that her race wouldn't do. So she's more than grateful and touched by the gesture. After Shenzi's mom left, the two decided to head back. While walking, Lord Alice shared how she finds humans to be quite peculiar. She picked up on the strange dynamics and behavior of Shenzi's mom and felt a sense of amusement. Shenzi was sitting in his room when he noticed a wallet on the table. It looked familiar to him, and as he examined it, he realized it belonged to his mom. This sparked a memory from the day before of his mother's advice for him to maintain a clean living space and keep his room tidy. She always emphasized the importance of cleanliness, wanting him to learn how to live in an organized way. As he thought about his mom, he remembered that she had also pointed out the cat sitting nearby. Shenzi had chosen to have a cat as a pet because they are generally easy to take care of. However, his cat wasn't the only pet he had. He was actually responsible for several animals. Just then, his cat jumped onto his mother's bag, prompting his mom to ask if the cat was alright. Shenzi understood that the cat was simply after some fish flakes she had stashed in her bag. Seeing the cat's antics made his mom feel more relaxed, and after a moment, she decided to leave, her worries soothed. This interaction explained the wallet's presence on the table. Shenzi had been planning to return it to his mom, but had not yet found the time to do so. As he stood up to put the wallet away, it unexpectedly slipped from his hands and nearly landed right on the cat. He managed to catch the wallet just in time, preventing his cat from scratching it in a surprised reaction. Suddenly, something strange happened. A woman appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, as if the wallet had transformed into a fine woman. It was because the bondage of his hands was cut by the cutter that also flew. This peculiar situation left Shenzi staring at her feet, and it might have looked like he was bowing down in an act of submission. The woman seemed curious about his living situation and questioned the kind of environment he was in. Feeling a bit annoyed, Shenzi quickly clarified that he wasn't looking for any roommates. However, due to a misunderstanding, the woman didn't grasp his point. Instead, she dragged him away from his room entirely with the intention of giving Shenzi the peak of life that he had not yet experienced. Caught in this unexpected turn of events, Shenzi was puzzled and overwhelmed. If a green-minded person were to read that, they might have thought it was another method of bringing him to the peak. Shenzi was standing next to a woman, just watching her as she took a phone call. Suddenly, he found himself on a luxurious red carpet, surrounded by a limousine and bodyguards. The bodyguards greeted him and the woman with respect, leaving Shenzi in disbelief. He felt confused but decided to get into the vehicle anyway. When they arrived at their destination, the woman told Shenzi to stop being so shy because he was the king in this situation. As they walked into a fancy shop, Shenzi noticed how luxurious it was, but he couldn't find anything he wanted. The woman, or what was once a wallet, began picking out random items for him. By the end of their shopping spree, she had bought nearly everything in the store. Shenzi was frustrated and told her he didn't have the money to pay for all of it. She reassured him, telling him to relax because she would cover the costs with the fancy black card in her hand. Shenzi was taken aback and jokingly suggested that maybe she should be his sugar mommy. They continued their day by buying toys, trying on expensive suits, and enjoying fancy food. The normal happenings in the elite's life. While dining, they toasted their champagne glasses together in celebration. During their meal, the woman playfully wiped some leftover food off Shenzi's face with a tissue, and they both laughed at the moment. After all the excitement, Shenzi woke up in a luxurious bed, wearing a soft robe. As he tried to gather his thoughts about the previous night, his phone rang. It was his mother, and she was yelling about how much money she had lost on her credit card. A great way to wake up first thing in the morning. It turned out that the woman had used Shenzi's mother's credit card to pay for everything they had done together since she was, indeed, the wallet. Shenzi was left processing everything that had happened. From an ordinary day beside a woman to being treated like royalty, it all felt like a dream. One minute, he was confused about his situation, and the next, he was living a life of luxury with expensive clothes, gourmet meals, and the thrill of being pampered. Realizing that his mother's financial crisis was a result of this shopping spree brought him back to reality. He didn't know how to feel about the extravagant day they had shared, especially since it involved using his mother's card without her permission. It left him wondering how he could explain it to her. This is why he filmed this movie, as a way to express his peculiar experience of a wallet that turned into a woman scamming him into spending a luxurious amount of money. Now the profit he will be getting from this movie, Leather Queen, Carry Me, will be used to pay his debts. As we continue to Shenzi's life, we get to see him going to school. Their teacher recently dismissed the class, reminding everyone to go home and do their own revision of their assignment. Shenzi was packing his things up and ready to go home when Zhang Yun appeared. She invited Shenzi to accompany her to the bookstore to buy the book that their teacher recommended as a reference. Since that sounds helpful and productive, Shenzi agreed to accompany her. As the two were walking out the campus gate, they were casually talking, catching up on some stuff. In the distance, male students were busy looking and admiring the woman near the gate. They were asking each other if that woman had come from their school and what she could be waiting for. This girl in question was none other than the most beautiful Lord Alice. The two were surprised to see her, and it seemed like Zhang Yun knew Lord Alice as Shenzi's cousin. They looked closely at each other, and Zhang Yun even hugged her before Shenzi asked why Lord Alice was there. Her response was, "I'm here to fetch you while also seeing how the school is," speaking like a true alumni. Anyway, Zhang Yun told Lord Alice that she would buy a book with Shenzi, asking the goddess if she would like to go with her. There wasn't anything bad about it, but Shenzi was just cautious and overthinking for a man. Anyway, as they were walking to the bookstore, the ground suddenly shook and rumbled that it made Shenzi fall on his butt. Although it happened quickly, Shenzi looked behind him and saw the goddess, but it didn't take long for her to leave. There was silence for a few seconds before Zhang Yun checked up on Shenzi. Thankfully, none of them were hurt. They were just a little shaken up because they thought the ground would split because of how intense the earthquake was. Shenzi recalled how Lord Alice's expression looked before leaving could mean something. Zhang Yun was worried, telling him that they should leave the place. Shenzi told her to go home first since Lord Alice was still missing. However, Zhang Yun looked at him in confusion, asking who Lord Alice was. Shenzi explained that it was his cousin, but Zhang Yun couldn't recall any of it. So he asked if she remembered Yozora, and she replied, "Isn't Yozora your phone? Do you really think I've lost my memory?" He replied lightly but was relieved that it was confirmed. Knowing that she remembered Yozora but not Lord Alice made Shenzi assume that it must be related to her disappearance. Then the civilians not far from them were talking about an accident ahead that happened during the earthquake. They say it was quite severe, so something must have happened, and Shenzi had to know. He told Zhang Yun that he had something to do, giving her permission to go back first. He didn't wait for Zhang Yun's answer and ran towards the accident. Questions were running through his mind. Is the accident caused by the earthquake, and is it related to Lord Alice's sudden disappearance? When he arrived at the accident, it was clearly so severe that it didn't make sense to him. He concludes that it must be an unnatural situation that might be the work of a superpower user. He needs to know the whole story of how this happened, and since there was a post nearby, he turned it into a human. Shenzi immediately dragged her over to an empty alleyway to interrogate the girl while she was still processing what happened. Shenzi was questioning a girl about an accident that had just happened. Luckily, the girl remembered everything clearly. During the questioning, Shenzi accidentally and unconsciously squeezed her shoulder a little too hard, which hurt her. So the girl explained what happened and said that she saw everything clearly and could still remember it because the culprit mistakenly saw her in a trash bin. The guy in a hoodie threw a can on her, leaving an actual bruise on the girl. Later, the traffic light changed to yellow. The man tried to cross the road before it turned green. Just as a car was about to hit him, he raised his right hand, and to everyone's surprise, the car stopped suddenly. Then something strange happened. The car seemed to lift off the ground briefly before crashing back down, which caused an earthquake-like effect. The situation worsened as multiple cars crashed into each other, creating a chain reaction of chaos. Amid all this, the young man who had tried to cross the road drifted away before the crowd. Since he had gone in that direction, Shenzi thought he might be able to find some clues there. After thanking the girl for the valuable information, Shenzi turned the girl back into her original form. It was quite far from where she once was, but he ignored it and moved toward where the young man had gone. As he searched the area, he stumbled upon some fresh bloodstains on the ground, which indicated that the young man had been injured. It seemed he had left a while ago. Next to the blood, Shenzi also found a key, but he got confused. Even with these clues, he had no idea how to piece everything together since he was not cut out to be a detective. As he continued browsing around, he suddenly came across Lord Alice, who appeared to be injured as well. Shenzi's mind raced with questions. In the middle of all the chaos, a big reveal dropped. There were clear signs of a serious fight involving Lord Alice. Once things calmed down, the one behind Lord Alice's situation showed up. He called Shenzi an outsider and told him to stay out of their business. The culprit knows that Shenzi is one of them, superpower users. On top of that, the guy knows Lord Alice is a goddess, but he is not afraid of it. That confused Shenzi, not expecting this dude to fight a literal god. Shenzi called him a scumbag for hitting a girl, whether they're a goddess or not. That insult lit the spark for an all-out brawl, and the culprit started hitting Shenzi with his power. With a flick of his fingers, the culprit sent Shenzi hurtling through the air. His relentless assault left Shenzi helpless, choking him into submission. As Shenzi's consciousness slipped away, but he caught a glimpse of Yozora before he completely fainted. Awakening in a bed, Shenzi found himself disoriented and confronted by an unfamiliar voice calling out to him. In a hospital ward lay Shunxing. Shenzi's ward mate sat beside him. Shenzi had been unconscious for 3 days due to a mild concussion, according to Shunxin. He was yelling that to him as if he was a worried brother because even the hospital thought Shenzi was in a vegetative state. Other than that, Shunxin couldn't help but point out the good-looking girl who brought Shenzi to the hospital. That made him suspect that Shenzi had been injured in a fight over a girl. However, Shenzi didn't know why he was injured in the first place. After a few minutes, Yozora appeared concerned and anxious as she rushed to Shenzi's bed. She explained that Shenzi had collapsed in the alley, where an elderly woman had helped her call the ambulance. As Yozora and Shenzi talked, Shunxing witnessed their affectionate interaction, telling the couple not to break that bond. But Shenzi was puzzled because 3 days had passed, and Yozora should have transformed by now. He wondered if Shenzi's power had increased, allowing him to withstand the transformation for a longer period. Suddenly, 2 police officers entered the room. They wanted to question Shenzi about a murder that had occurred on Renewal Road where he had passed earlier. Shenzi honestly answered their questions, expressing shock at the news of the murder. And that's when he realizes that Lord Alice, who was a victim of the superpower user guy, might have been murdered. At the crime scene, blood traces from several individuals were discovered. Besides the victim, there were 3 other unidentified people involved. Shenzi couldn't shake the feeling that Lord Alice might have been one of the casualties. The investigating officers wanted to collect Shenzi's blood sample, not out of suspicion, but because they believed he may also be a victim. Shenzi consented, and an additional officer suggested recording his voice. Another officer scrutinized Shenzi intently as if harboring doubts. Shenzi recalled only asking the woman at the post about the situation before the incident. After that, his memory was a blur. He faintly remembered certain scenes but couldn't retrieve crucial details. Shenzi confessed his lack of recollection, fueling the officer's suspicions. However, Shunshin explained that a doctor had previously diagnosed Shenzi with possible memory loss since he had a head injury. With that, they didn't press him further, but he was advised to contact them immediately if any memories resurfaced. Shunshin wondered why the officers were interested in him. As a law-abiding citizen, Shenzi couldn't imagine being implicated in such a serious crime. He suspected he might have been unknowingly involved, as he had no memory of the events. He cautioned Shenzi against trying too hard to recall. Meanwhile, Yozora, who had been unconscious during the incident, revealed that she had seen Shenzi clutching a key tightly. She had eventually returned it to him. Yozora treasured a key that a man seemed to value greatly, but he had lost his memory. As hunger pangs struck, Yozora brought in some porridge. Since this dude can be mischievous, he purposely acted like his wrist hurt so that Yozora could spoon-feed him. Just when the heartwarming moment was about to unfold, Shenzi's mother burst into the room, her heart heavy with worry. Shenzi assured his mother that he was alright, but she was unconvinced, noticing the cast on his leg. While it was only an external injury, it still raised concerns. As it turned out, Shenzi's mother had learned from the police that her son was involved in an accident and a potential case. She rushed to the hospital after discovering he was hospitalized. His father, unfortunately, was out of town and couldn't be contacted due to his demanding schedule. Shenzi's mother observed that he was about to eat, but she recognized that porridge lacked nutritional value. She suggested purchasing something more appetizing for both Shenzi and Yozora. Additionally, she noted that Shenzi now referred to Yozora as Big Brother, with a tone of affection when it was once Master. Overhearing this, Shunshin, who had been listening, suffered a nosebleed due to his misunderstanding of the situation. As Shenzi continued to eat his porridge, his mother went to get some delectable treats. Meanwhile, Shunshin remained perplexed and continued to misinterpret the events unfolding before him. It had been quite a day, and throughout it, Shunshin found himself mimicking the behaviors and actions of his friends Yozora and Shenzi. His behavior was reminiscent of a teenage boy, filled with curiosity and a desire to fit in. Shunshin appeared to be genuinely intrigued by what they were doing, so he chose to follow them closely, much like a little brother trying to join in on an adventure. Suddenly, in a rather unexpected moment, the door swung open. To everyone's surprise, Shenzi's mother was stepping into the room with a warm and inviting presence. She had brought a feast with her, plates piled high with an assortment of delicious food prepared by several talented chefs who streamed into the room like a culinary parade. Not only did she bring a scrumptious meal for Shenzi, but she also made sure Shunshin had plenty to eat as well. The sheer volume of food was overwhelming for Shunshin, making his eyes widen in disbelief and delight. Shenzi, on the other hand, could hardly believe what his mother had done. He was astonished that she had gone through the trouble of visiting a fancy 4-star hotel to order such exquisite dishes. Nonetheless, while he appreciated the gesture, he found it a bit absurd when his mother insisted on feeding him. He felt perfectly capable of feeding himself and wished she would understand that he was not a child anymore. After devouring their delicious meal, Shenzi let out a loud burp, a natural reaction to being completely stuffed with food. It was a clear indication that he had indulged in too much. But at that moment, all seemed well. His mother was satisfied that her task was done and decided that it was time to leave the room. As she started to pat him affectionately, Shenzi, without thinking, let out a noise that most mothers would typically find displeasing. His mother quickly scolded him for it, reminding him to be more considerate, which left a somewhat awkward tension in the air. Once she had left the room, Shunshin could hardly contain his admiration for her. He seemed to be in awe of the caring nature of Shenzi's mother, to the point where he curiously asked Shenzi if he was lacking a father figure in his life. Shenzi, taken aback by the question, firmly declined the notion, asserting that he was fine. At that moment, as the day wound down, Shenzi started to drift off to sleep. However, he was suddenly awakened by a series of noises that broke the peaceful quiet of the room. He wasn't sure what it was he was hearing, but he could tell that he hadn't heard the person's voice before. It seems to be coming from a nurse, and for some reason, the nurse asked the patient if he still wanted to live. It sounds more like a threat, and that piqued Shenzi's curiosity. The peculiar nurse was asking a patient if he truly wished to live. It was clear that this question struck a sensitive chord concerning the man's illness. Yet there was something deeply unsettling about the entire situation. Strange, unfamiliar sounds echoed in the air, and unusual lights flickered around the nurse. Shenzi felt an overwhelming urge to move and find out more, but his body seemed unresponsive. Just when he thought he could make a move to peek at what was happening, the enigmatic nurse had already vanished. As Shenzi recalled, the flickering lights appeared almost otherworldly, as if they possessed some kind of supernatural ability. In the background, he could hear murmurs suggesting a conversation between the nurse and someone, perhaps another patient. He then remembered that this ward had 3 beds in total. Aside from Shenzi, another patient was occupying one of the beds, but he had never seen this person during the day. It seemed that this individual was the one who had spoken earlier, and it looked like he was in critical condition, perhaps even on the verge of death. The strange nurse seemed to be trying to help him, but coming to the ward at such an hour to assist someone felt rather suspicious to Shenzi. He tried to brush aside these uneasy thoughts, reminding himself that he was not in a position to take any action. However, he resolved that he would ask Yozora to investigate the situation further the next day. The silence surrounding him was heavy, and he felt compelled to call out for Yozora. Yozora quickly emerged, fully aware of the unusual circumstances that had transpired the previous day. When Shenzi instructed her to check on the other bed, she complied without hesitation. After a few moments, she returned and informed Shenzi that everything seemed normal. The other bed was occupied, and Shenxing was peacefully sleeping. Yozora, being perceptive, understood that things felt off. Yesterday had left a peculiar impression on her. Just then, Shenxing stirred awake, having overheard their conversation in the early morning hours. He offered to assist Shenzi with bathing since he realized that Shenzi was not in a condition to do so himself. However, Shenzi politely declined his offer, leading to yet another misunderstanding. Shenxing assumed that Yozora, who had been standing nearby, was the one who would be helping instead. After finishing a warm, hearty meal, Shenzi felt completely satisfied and full. She couldn't help but feel grateful for Yozora's efforts in making the meal so enjoyable. On the other hand, Shenxing was finding it hard to tolerate the constant flirting between Shenzi and Yozora. It seemed like the two lovebirds were always exchanging sweet glances and playful banter, which made Shenxing roll his eyes in annoyance. Feeling a bit overwhelmed by their antics, Shenxing decided to change the subject. He reached over to the curtain beside him and drew it open, revealing another patient in the bed next to him. This patient was Cheng, who appeared to be in a deep sleep. Shenxing recognized Cheng since they had checked into the hospital around the same time. Unfortunately, he also knew that Cheng was suffering from liver cancer, which highlighted the seriousness of his condition. This made Shenzi realize just how crucial the nurse had been in helping Cheng during the previous night's emergency, as she had come to provide assistance when he needed it the most. Just as they were reflecting on this, they heard the sound of Cheng coughing vigorously. It seemed he was finally waking up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he immediately looked for some water. Gratefully, he accepted the drink that Shenxing offered him and flashed a warm smile in appreciation. It was clear that Cheng was looking a bit better, and it seemed that the treatment he was receiving was indeed making a positive difference in his health. Shenxing took this moment to explain that they had another patient in the room, referring to Shenzi. They all exchanged greetings, creating a friendly atmosphere despite the grim circumstances. Then Shenzi, always straight to the point, asked Cheng about the nurse from the previous night. Cheng, however, had no information to share as he had already gone to rest after his own treatment and hadn't paid much attention to what was happening around him. Curiously, Shenzi shared more details about the nurse's visit. She mentioned that the nurse had come in the night before and wondered aloud about what she looked like. Shenxing, who had been single for a long time, couldn't help but wonder if she had been beautiful. Cheng, still trying to shake off the remnants of medication, struggled to remember and suggested that any visual details might have been clouded by the side effects of his treatment. Shenzi then teased him a bit, suggesting that maybe he had simply been dreaming about the nurse. Since Cheng couldn't recall any specifics about her, Shenzi felt he might have to hear her voice again to remember her correctly. A few moments later, Shenzi instructed Yozora to pull the curtain closed again, signaling a desire for some privacy as his phone buzzed with an incoming call, and it was none other than Zhang Yun. To no surprise, the call was filled with non-stop scolding because he had gone missing for days. He shared that he was in the hospital but didn't want to go into details about what happened. Jong Yun wanted to visit Shenzi, so she asked for the hospital's address, and even though he was hesitant, he gave it to her. After the call, he quickly asked Yozora if she had stayed in her human form during the incident. Yozora explained that the auntie who helped them was the one who did all the procedures in the hospital. Still, being in a human form was okay for Yozora, not feeling uncomfortable so far. Yozora mentioned that she didn't even notice that she was still in human form because she was more worried that Shenzi might not wake up, so he had to comfort her. Later, Jong Yan came running through the hospital hallway before barging into the ward door, asking if Shenzi was there. Hearing the commotion, Shenzi opened the curtain and showed himself, and that's when Jong Yan ran towards him for a hug. She was so worried about him that she was glad to see him well. However, the person beside them couldn't help but feel hurt at the sight of them hugging freely whenever they wanted to. A few days later, Jong Yan visited Shenzi again and decided to walk him over outside so he could recover faster. Besides, the ward would eventually bore him, so it's better to breathe fresh air once in a while. As the two were walking down the hallway, Shenzi couldn't help but wonder if he were to meet the nurse who helped Cheng that night. Ever since then, his tumor went from malignant to benign, and it even surprised the doctor, saying it was a miracle. He was thinking too deeply that scary flashbacks were flashing in his brain that it hurt. He feels like he's forgotten something important but still can't remember what. A few moments later, they arrive at the elevator when Jong Yun asked where Alice was. Shenzi had to make an excuse and say that she had visited earlier, but since Yozora was around, she went back. Jong Yun was curious if Alice knew about Yozora, so Shenzi had to make up another excuse and say that Alice chose to leave because Yozora was already there to take care of him. That made Jong Yun sulk because it sounded like her presence wasn't needed because of Yozora. Shenzi then said that he doesn't want to get in the way of her studies, but she doesn't really mind. And that's how they fight their way to the conclusion that Jong Yun can visit him only after class. As we skip forward to when the two is finally out, Shenzi is enjoying the warmth of the sun and the presence of others. It made him remember his primary goal of not sacrificing humanity and always protecting it. It was a responsibility that he had to carry alone. Jong Yun, on the other hand, noticed that Shenzi seemed upset, so she was looking for a way to cheer him up. Then these old grannies were talking about the two kids as if they were like that duo who has a weird dynamic together. Jong Yun wanted to spend time with him, but she had something to do this afternoon. Naturally, Shenzi shamelessly asked her to help him with his schoolwork, and Jong Yun happily agreed before heading out. Just when he was about to change his phone into Yozora, Shunxing suddenly showed up, looking very sad. He was jealous because Shenzi had a cute girlfriend and a beautiful classmate who cared for him. Even his mother was attractive. Shenzi could only smile awkwardly. He knew Shunxing would feel even more jealous if he learned that he could turn things into beautiful girls. He tried to cheer up Shunxing, but Shunxing then made a surprising request. He wanted Shenzi to introduce him to a beautiful girl, ideally someone as pretty as his mom. This shocked Shenzi since he didn't know any girls like that. Then, an old nurse walked in to tell Shenzi that his mother had arranged for him to move to a single hospital room, which happened to be quite expensive. Shunxing admired the love Shenzi's mother was showing him since having a single room was a big deal. Still, Shunxing noticed that Shenzi's girlfriend was missing. When Shenzi explained that he was about to call her up, right after their talk, Shenzi called on Yozora to come out, but she appeared with a sad look on her face. Moving to a single room meant Shenzi could summon Yozora without worry, and the room would be more comfortable. He opened his arms and asked why Yozora looked upset, and she hugged him tightly in response. Yozora hugged him tightly, pressing on his wounds, which hurt a lot. She talked about how bad she felt for not being able to help him and how Jong Yun was taking care of him. But there was something else on her mind. She knew that Jong Yun had feelings for him. He thought that he couldn't be with Jong Yun because she was just really nice, and he was focused on Yozora, whom he had already confessed his feelings to and wanted to be his girlfriend. After a few while of comforting his girlfriend, he got hungry, so Yozora left to buy some food. Then, a new nurse came in to take care of him and change his bandages. The nurse told him to be careful with his right hand and then asked him to strip so she could change the bandage. He misunderstood this and thought she wanted him to take off all his clothes when really she just needed to access his bandage. As he started to undress, Yozora walked in and was about to get the wrong idea. Thankfully, he quickly explained the situation to her. After the nurse left, he suddenly remembered that soothing voice. It was the same nurse from the night that healed Cheng. As soon as he realized the connection, he quickly informed Yozora that the nurse they were searching for sounded just like the nurse he had encountered. It seemed that this nurse might possess some sort of healing superpower. If anyone could confirm their suspicions, it would be her. The fact that she had visited Cheng late at night to provide care indicated that she was someone who took her responsibilities seriously and was vigilant. This meant that uncovering the truth about her abilities and intentions would not be easy. Yozora was intrigued by this situation, especially since Shenzi seemed eager to meet the nurse. She wondered if Shenzi's interest was related to wanting her injury treated, which was a possibility. However, Yozora knew they needed to determine whether this nurse was a friend who could help them or potentially a foe. After all, individuals with superpowers often viewed each other with a sense of competition and rivalry, and there was a chance the nurse would not want to assist them. The main task ahead was to find a way to get closer to the nurse and observe her. So Yozora dedicated herself to watching the nurse's daily life, which appeared to be quite ordinary and uneventful. However, things took an unexpected turn when Yozora suddenly fainted and transformed back into her original form. To make matters worse, the nurse had just walked in and was completely taken aback by the sight in front of her. Shenzi, wanting to cover up the situation, tried to act like nothing was wrong as if Yozora wasn't even there, but the nurse was quick on the uptake. She recognized Yozora as a superpower user, likely sensing it when she was changing his bandages. Indeed, Yozora's right hand was brimming with superpower energy. However, the nurse had no way of knowing Yozora's intentions. To be honest, Yozora's abilities weren't harmful to humans. In fact, transforming objects into girls was not considered a dangerous act. The nurse still doubts if he's harmless or not, so he has to prove himself. Unfortunately, Yozora was out of energy at that moment. To avoid raising further suspicion, he decided to use a pillow as his next subject for transformation. The nurse finally believed him. There are different types of power, but this seems unusual, and she's unsure if he's using it in a strange way or not. At first he definitely thought differently, but now that he has Yozora by his side, things have changed. Shenzi, who has earned her trust, is only temporarily in a good position. Shenzi is honest, and there's no need to be suspicious of her. However, the nurse knows that appearances can be deceiving, so she can't be completely sure. Now that everything is confirmed, he plans to return the pillow to its original state. In the meantime, the pillow asked him to touch his chest, so he quickly transformed her. This confirmed her suspicions that Shenzi was not the superpower user she had met earlier. That user had been badly hurt by another superpower user. Also, the injuries Shenzi had were caused by a superpower user, but he couldn't remember who and how. Given this situation, she decided to help him heal, even though his injuries seemed minor. However, the attack had caused internal damage to his bones. He might not feel it, but his bones are cracked in ways that even medical equipment can't fix. If the cracks spread throughout his body, it could lead to all his bones breaking. They began the healing process, and he felt warmth surrounding him. When he woke up, the nurse was completely exhausted from using her energy. Shenzi felt both guilty and grateful. All the nurse wanted was for him to take care of the body she had healed, and then they would be even. Afterward, the nurse asked where Lord Alice was, the one who gave them superpowers. While Alice is a goddess, other gods can give out superpowers. The nurse had her powers about a year ago and had met Lord Alice too, but they eventually stopped seeing each other. Shenzi mentioned that Lord Alice was with him before the accident. He couldn't remember the details clearly, but after an earthquake, Lord Alice seemed to disappear. Shenzi wanted to find Lord Alice but fainted, and Yozora brought him to safety. The nurse found it strange that Shenzi named his phone, but he explained it was just easier for him. He needed to charge his phone now so they could uncover the truth later. The nurse then said she had to leave for work, and before going, Shenzi asked for her name. She told him it was Li Chengxin. After that, Shenzi charged his phone and called Yozora to ask about Lord Alice. He learned that Alice had been badly hurt and was found near a dumpster. Then a man attacked Shenzi and left him there. After that, he summoned Yozora again. Something fell off. Yozora wanted to help bring Lord Alice back, but when she looked behind her, Alice was completely gone. She searched the area but was mostly worried about Shenzi, so she stopped looking. Additionally, Yozora could recharge herself as a human, which Lord Alice had taught her in secret. Lord Alice might have returned to God's realm to heal after getting badly beaten. The next day, Chengxin, Yozora, and Shenzi sat down together to chat. Yozora admitted that she doesn't know where Lord Alice is. Being a goddess makes her situation beyond their control. However, it was surprising to hear that Lord Alice got hurt. Changsun appears to have a close bond with Lord Alice as she cares for her deeply. It turns out that Lord Alice once saved her. To explain further, Changsun had a little sister who was always in the hospital because of her health. One time, due to a blood transfusion with contaminated blood, her sister became seriously ill. This illness can only be managed, not cured. Later on, her sister's condition worsened, and she started suffering in her young adulthood. Changsun could only watch her sister endure such pain. So, Lord Alice gifted Changsun the ability to heal her sister, which made Changsun a devoted sister that our main character greatly admires. After Lord Alice left, Shenzi couldn't stop worrying about her, but Yozora reassured her. Then, unexpectedly, Shenzi's mom barged in, playfully teasing him for ruining his plans. When she mentioned his apartment being messy, Shenzi remembered his mischievous cat, Mimi, and asked Yozora to look after her. He was really worried because Mimi was quite a troublemaker. His mom suggested that he should consider giving Mimi away since he's just a student who struggles to take care of himself. However, Shenzi didn't want to part with Mimi. Shenzi is feeling anxious as he finds himself in a large room with a coffin inside, which holds Changsun. He is confused because Lord Alice is also present, and he wonders why he is worried about Changsun when she is a goddess capable of taking care of herself. However, it seems that Changsun is frozen, and Lord Alice appears to be taking control of her body. Shenzi is desperate for answers, but it's not Lord Alice's responsibility to provide them, and he may not even need to know. To make matters worse, time is running out. After a troubling dream, Shenzi wakes up, slightly irritating Mimi. He has already been discharged from the hospital. While pondering Changsun's condition, he receives a call from Zhang Yun, who checks in on him before hanging up. Remembering that he has Changsun's phone number, he tries to call her, but she doesn't answer, likely because she is busy. Feeling hungry and noticing the cupboard is bare, Shenzi decides to go out and buy food. He also calls Yozora to accompany him to the supermarket. Once they arrive at the store, Shenzi suggests that Yozora sit in the shopping cart. Although she is hesitant because of her weight, Shenzi insists he is strong enough to push her around. They start picking out various snacks and items. As Shenzi heads over to the noodle aisle, contemplating which flavor to choose, he unexpectedly runs into Xin Xiaolin. Shenzi was a bit surprised when he found out he was shopping with Yozora. As soon as Xiaolin spotted Yozora, she waved excitedly, and they embraced each other like sisters who had been apart for a long time. Xiaolin noticed that Yozora was sitting on the shopping trolley and teased her playfully, suggesting it was because Shenzi wanted to admire her legs. Just then, Xiaolin's mother called her name and inadvertently bumped into Shenzi. She reminisced about her hopes for her daughter and Shenzi to get married one day. However, Xiaolin's mother kept bringing up the past, making Xiaolin feel uneasy since she knew Shenzi was in a relationship now. She quickly apologized for her mother's incessant chatter, explaining that she didn't mean any harm. It was just that Shenzi and Xiaolin had once been very close friends, and their families were also close. Xiaolin gently pulled her mother away, feeling that she was being a bit too much. After saying their goodbyes, Yozora noticed how popular Shenzi seemed, but in reality, it was just that they had been friends for a long time, so it didn't really count. Yozora teased Shenzi, but he took it very seriously. She playfully remarked on his popularity among beautiful women, mentioning Lord Alice, Zhang Yun, and Xiaolin. Although she insisted they were all just friends, she acknowledged that it was unlikely for a goddess like Lord Alice to fall for a mortal like Shenzi. Once they finished shopping, they bought quite a lot compared to their last trip. Yozora offered to cook for him. Shenzi was hesitant, not because he doubted her cooking skills, but because he had never seen her cook before. While Shenzi was playing games, he suddenly heard a loud crash from the kitchen. Rushing in, he found a huge mess and couldn't help but laugh. It appeared that Yozora had tried to follow a recipe but had gone terribly wrong. She seemed quite upset about it. To cheer her up and avoid any negativity, Shenzi pretended he was creating pizza, hoping it would not only lighten the mood, but also steer her away from cooking in the future. While Shenzi was lying down and playing games, Yozora was busy cleaning the apartment and taking care of chores. Suddenly, she noticed Mimi chewing on something that wasn't edible. To her alarm, it turned out to be the key Shenzi had been holding earlier. Losing that would be a disaster. As she picked it up, Yozora noticed that it had the letters SQ engraved on it. Shenzi thought it was unwise to jump to conclusions. Yozora became concerned when she saw Shenzi sitting with a pained expression, a clear sign of a slight headache. He asked her if she remembered the face of the superpowered individual they encountered. Unfortunately, Yozora couldn't recognize him, as he had already disappeared into the distance. To uncover the truth, they decided to transform the shirt he was wearing that day and ask her instead. Fortunately, the shirt had a strong memory of him. She described him as a skinny guy wearing a hoodie with 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. However, this description wasn't enough, as they were searching for a specific person. The shirt suggested that she drew the unknown individual, but the drawing turned out poorly. It was practically unrecognizable. Their expressions reflected confusion, and Shirt Babe began to cry, feeling useless. To comfort her, Shenzi falsely assured her that she had been a great help, which managed to stop her tears because a woman's tears are his weakness. After questioning the Shirt Babe, they moved on to the Pants Babe. They asked her the same questions as before. While she could remember him, she wasn't able to draw, but she tried anyway, resulting in a much bigger mess than before. He thanked Pants Babe for her help and transformed her back. There didn't seem to be any other clues, but he remembered wearing shoes that day, which suggested that Shoes Babe could be helpful. Since the shoes were dirty and smelled bad, he cleaned them up before transforming them so they would look and smell better. Once Shoes Babe transformed, he found her cute and adorable, especially her boom boom, which Yozora noticed. They asked for her assistance, but he suddenly collapsed. Yozora suggested transforming him back to her original form instead, which he did with a hint of sorry. Then, the drawings that the Shoes Babe made were similar to those of the Shirt and Pants Babe, but much better. He thanked Shoes Babe for her help. She noticed how flushed his face was, and she helped him to bed, accidentally brushing her heart against his cheek. Later that night, Shenzi woke up in the middle of the night and fed his Mimi. Despite assuring Mimi that he wouldn't take her food, she still seemed very suspicious of him. Remembering he was hungry, he went downstairs to eat. While wandering around, he accidentally noticed that it was his neighbor's birthday and saw a delicious-looking birthday cake through an open door. While waiting for an elevator, Shenzi encountered a child who was out running an errand for his mom late at night. He found it strange that a parent would let their young child be out at such a late hour. The child then mentioned some unusual happenings lately and warned Shenzi to be careful. When Shenzi finally reached his destination to buy food, he noticed the child hadn't arrived yet. He was heading to the parking garage. Shenzi brushed off the odd feeling he had since he didn't fully understand it. After buying some food, he enjoyed a bowl of noodles with an egg while scrolling through social media. He discovered that the investigation into a recent accident was still unresolved. It wasn't surprising that the case was complicated because it involved a superpower user, making things more difficult for investigators. Then he looked out the window and was scared that he saw a person floating. He thought that it was a ghost and was relieved to see that it was just a human, which made it worse. As the child lost balance and began to fall, Shenzi quickly summoned a rope meant for hanging clothes, which caught the child just in time. The kid thanked him for the help and was brought inside. When he woke up, he looked around, confused, and asked where he was and what had happened. At first, the child thought that Shenzi was a kidnapper, but Shenzi explained what was actually happening. Shenzi cleverly convinced him that he had saved him from sleepwalking the night before, just before he nearly fell into a pond. Since Shenzi wasn't sure where the child came from, he decided to bring him to his home. Now that it's resolved, Shenzi walked the child home. But as he was leaving, Shenzi asked about his dream. The kid explained that he had a dream where he was floating comfortably in the sky. He felt an incredible rush because flying felt so amazing, even though it was real, and he had almost died doing it. The child wondered why Shenzi seemed curious about it. Shenzi explained that he must have been sleeping so peacefully that it sparked his interest. In reality, the child hadn't encountered anyone while dreaming, which meant he might not be fully aware of the situation. On the way back in the elevator, Shenzi fell deep into thought, wondering if the child might have superpowers or if another superpowered person was involved. But who would want to harm a kid? As soon as he entered the elevator, he saw the same child again, the one who had been running errands. The kid said that he went out for a walk, but Shenzi felt suspicious and uneasy until he reached his floor. The child made him uncomfortable, and he decided that the next time he saw him, he would take a different route. Later, even after he went to bed, he couldn't help but think about the floating kid earlier. He had thought about the situation all night, but he still had not come up with any solutions the next day. In the end, he ended up following the kid. He remembered him going to this building. However, he didn't know which apartment. Fortunately, God is on his side, and he immediately finds the kid with his mom. The kid wanted a dinosaur, but her mom refused as he wasn't even playing the previous one. His mother refused, and Shenzi came to say hi. She wondered who Shizzy was and the kid, but then the kid pinched Shenzi. He told Shenzi not to tell his mom what happened yesterday so he could be scolded. The mother of the child wondered what they were whispering about. Shenzi explained that men kept it a secret, but her son couldn't have that many secrets as he was just 8. Well, although he's 8, he can have his own secrets too. He'll grow up sooner or later. The kid's mom is wary of Shenzi as he might possibly lead his kid astray. She finds Shenzi weird, but the kid suddenly protected Shenzi from his mom and accidentally spilled the tea. Thankfully, Shenzi was fast as he explained that it was a game. He saved this kid in a game, but the mom wasn't happy as she told her kid to study hard and not play games. It was getting awkward, so Shenzi then bade goodbye, and the mom finally agreed that her child play games with him during weekends. Finally, he was back home. He was too rash, but at least it was easier to approach him now. But suddenly, just as he was about to order takeouts, Jong-yun called. She was worried about his well-being. She knew he was only eating takeout food, so she suggested they eat together. That's it for today's recap. Give us a like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.